Hello Miners fans, welcome back to Hermon Brothers Field in Palmer, Alaska for today's matchup between your Mat-Su Miners and the Anchorage Glacier Pilots. A matchup which, when played at this field so far this season, Dylan, has been pretty much all Miners favored.
Yeah, Mat-Su has dominated every time they've played the Anchorage Glacier Pilots, and now they're trying to do it one more time. Their final time hosting the Pilots this season. It is going to be a good one.
Charlie Fellows, Dylan Simmons, as always, the voices of the Miners ready to bring you this action, and we're very excited for the team to get back in the win column after what happened a couple days ago, a doubleheader at Mulcahy Stadium against Anchorage's other baseball team, and that could have gone a little bit better, but in case you missed it, here are some highlights.
Hello everyone and welcome to the largest city in the last frontier, Anchorage, Alaska. This evening, the crossroads of the world serves as a crossroads between the top two teams in the Alaska Baseball League as your red-hot Mat-Su Miners look to nab their first wins of the season against the #1 team in the league, the Anchorage Bucks. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows here for what we expect to be a knockdown, drag-out brawl between these two teams with not one, but two games to be played. 1-2 count, and a swing and a miss. Tucker Timmerman wins the war of attrition and gets his first strikeout of the day on Ryan Callahan, and most importantly keeps the score tied 0-0. Signature performance today, but right now he's in a bit of a jam. This is a ground ball right side and through for a base hit. A run's going to score for Anchorage. The throw is going to come home, and it's going to get away from Brandon Durant. Another run's going to score for the Bucks, 2-0 Anchorage on a couple of unfortunate circumstances for Mat-Su.
So it'll be a payoff, and instead it'll be grounded to short. Patrizi steps on the bag, throws on to first in time to turn two. So the bases loaded walk ended up coming up the Miners' way. Tucker Timmerman escapes the inning, leaves the bases loaded.
Throw to second, throw to first, and that's going to be the game. The Anchorage Bucks will end the game with a double play, and they will win by a score of 2-0 in 7 innings over the Mat-Su Miners. They take game one and they extend their lead in the ABL standings over the second-place Miners, and Mat-Su has lost their first game in 3 games. A tough way to end it out, but a tough fight all the way through, and Mat-Su will get another chance in about 45 minutes.
Hello and welcome back inside the confines of Mulcahy Stadium in Anchorage, Alaska for the second half of this doubleheader between the Anchorage Bucks and your Mat-Su Miners. As you can see, the remnants of the scoreboard from Game 1 just getting changed. The Bucks won the first leg of this 2-game affair by a score of 2-0. They expand their lead in the ABL standings to 3.5 games over Mat-Su, but the Miners can bring it back to the margin it started the day at with a win today against Zan Rose, a pitcher that has performed pretty well against the Miners so far this season, and this Bucks offense. Cole Carlone did pretty well for himself in the first half of this doubleheader with a pair of hits off of Tucker Timmerman. He's swinging at the first pitch, tags one out to deep left field, going back Kyle McCausland, and that's over the fence. A first pitch home run by Cole Carlone, and the Anchorage Bucks waste no time reminding everyone who the superior offense is today. Swing and a miss, he got him. Down on strikes, swinging for the second time is Will Burns, and he will leave the bases loaded. A run does come in to score, but that could have been a lot worse for the Mat-Su pitching staff.
So this is a very good part of the lineup for Mat-Su to take advantage of, and this is, oh boy.
Wow, oh, that's in here.
It's in the booth. We have a souvenir.
That's amazing.
All right, now who gets to take it home?
Hold on. That's,
oh my gracious.
We gotta, hold on.
So how did it get in here though? Did it go up through the window?
I'm not entirely sure. It bounced off the side. I'm trying to pull up the camera here to show the people that we do have a baseball in our hands right now that took a weird carom off the window and bounced right in here.
As that's going to be a strikeout from Ryan Harrahill, and Mat-Su will end the bottom half of the 5th inning.
Hold on, just don't go anywhere. I'm gonna do some a little bit of movie magic here.
We're gonna try to show you this.
We're gonna add a camera source. Yeah, okay.
There you go.
There I am, and we've got a ball here. This came in. Here's Dylan there. And, yep, this came in right here. Nearly hit us. And, yep, we're going to break now. You're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball. Deal. High bouncing ball to second. Knowles has it. Tosses on to first. And that will do it. The Miners offense plays 14 innings of ball and cannot muster a single run. They fall in a pair of 2-0 defeats to the Anchorage Bucks. Assuming the Peninsula Oilers result holds, that will mean the Miners will fall back into a tie with Peninsula for second place in the ABL, while the Anchorage Bucks' lead has ballooned to 4.5. They sit clear atop the Alaska Baseball League. Well, Dylan, that was a tough turn of events down at Mulcahy against the best team in the ABL. But whenever Mat-Su has needed to pick me up this season, the Pilots have come into Hermon Brothers Field and provided it.
They have. It's a real opportunity for Mat-Su to turn the page coming into this game. Now, the Glacier Pilots last year defeated Mat-Su at Hermon Brothers Field to win the 2023 ABL Championship. But since that game, Mat-Su is 4-0 at home against the Pilots. 27-7 is the overall run differential. Mat-Su is 5-1 against the Pilots this season, and that one loss was a sudden death tie back at Mulcahy in 9 innings. So this is certainly a team that Mat-Su has had their fair share of success against here in 2024.
And you mentioned that run differential. The Pilots have struggled to score in general, but especially against the Miners. And the reason why has been because of the best pitching staff in the ABL that Mat-Su possesses. No small part of that is Noah Kendrick, who's starting for the Miners today. I got to talk to him in the clubhouse before the game, and you'll want to listen to it, so here you go. All right, Miners fans, what's going on? I'm here with today's starting pitcher, Noah Kendrick. Noah, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty great today. It's going to be a good day on the field.
Obviously, we're playing the Anchorage Glacier Pilots today, a team that we've not lost to here at Hermon Brothers Field. What are you anticipating is going to be needed to win today?
Pilots are a good hitting team. You know, they can hit the fastball, so mix it up early and just attack. We'll be all right.
You've been a great part of what has been an incredible starting pitching rotation so far this season, the best in the ABL by far in terms of ERA, and you're right down there with the leaders in the league. What's been going right for you so far this season?
You know, I've just been believing in myself and getting after hitters, just getting ahead early in the count and just believing in myself, and that's all it really takes for me.
You came here from Texas, very different environment to Alaska. How's the we're over halfway through the season now, but how's the adjustment been to this new place?
You know, the adjustment hasn't been too crazy besides the heat. You know, Texas right now is in the hundreds or so being out here still wearing hoodies and long sleeves is a little bit different, but other than that, it's been an awesome time.
Do you like the weather here or there?
Whew, right now, summertime weather like this in Texas would be pretty elite, but, you know, I've been used to the hot all my life, so I don't know what to pick. But
get back to me in January when it's like -40 and there's 2 feet of snow too.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad it's been going well. Wish you the best of luck. This has been Noah Kendrick, so thanks to you for joining us. Back to you. Well, Dylan, that was a great chance to get to talk to him. He's definitely locked in and ready to go, and he's got 9 Pilots hitters that he'll have to test his mettle against today.
Yeah, for the Pilots, leading off will be Dylan Marks, the DH, the leader on the team in at-bats and hits. Luke Kiefner will be the shortstop, another Conference USA man for Noah Kendrick to go up against. Luke Stolga will be in center field. Jacob Cow is in left field. Junior Barajas will be the catcher. Chase Nice at third base. Owen Hayes at first base. Jack Dorn in right field. Troy Sanders at second base. And Jace Russell will be on the mound for the Pilots.
On the Mat-Su side, Drake Kerr leading off as he always does, the center fielder. Ryan Richard at second. Kyle McCausland over in right field today with Christian Perez, the DH. Chase Wilcox at first base. He's been hitting very well lately. And Blake Baltz takes over behind the dish with Brandon Durant off today. Nick Bisaccia at short with Kellen Strohmeyer out in left. And Don Patrizzi hitting ninth and at third base, 2 places where he is pretty unaccustomed to. And as we mentioned, Noah Kendrick, the Conference USA man with a couple of conference rivals against him in the Pilots roster, which he will be facing off against. Well, we're going to kick it to a break here, but we're very excited to see Mat-Su try and get back in the win column. It'll be Miners versus Pilots here in Palmer, so don't go anywhere.
everyone, and welcome back to beautiful Palmer, Alaska. Today, your Mat-Su Miners look to put the pep back in their step as they host the Anchorage Glacier Pilots for the final time in the 2024 season. What's going on, everyone? Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows joining you live from Hermon Brothers Field. And Charlie, Mat-Su is trying to get back to their mid-season form after a doubleheader defeat against the Anchorage Bucks on Monday.
Yeah, that was a little bit of a deflating outing to Mulcahy Stadium. 2 straight 2-0 defeats at the hands of the top team in the ABL. Those games were right there for the taking, and if just a couple of things had gone differently, we might be in a very different spot standings-wise right now. But if I know the Mat-Su Miners, I know they're not going to let that get to them. They're going to shake it off, come back to their home ballpark, and play against a team that so far this season things have gone pretty well against.
Yes, they are 5-1 against the Anchorage Glacier Pilots this season. 4-0 at home so far against them. The closest game here at home was back on Friday, where they won by a score of 2-1. Otherwise, the scores have been 9-4, 10-0, and 6-2. And they'll look to keep that going here tonight. On the bump for Mat-Su, Charlie, it's a guy who kind of follows in the same footsteps as many of the other pitchers in terms of his ability to get strikeouts and limit runs. It's Noah Kendrick.
Yeah, Noah Kendrick it's funny, at this point in the season, you can be a part of the rotation, a high-quality starter, one of the best in the ABL, but looking at the roster sheet on this Mat-Su Miners team, you kind of just blend in. 1.59 ERA, that's pretty much middle of the pack for Mat-Su in 17 innings. He's allowed 14 hits, just 3 earned runs, and has struck out 19. So the common, you would think that the dominance will continue.
Dylan Marks at the plate for the Pilots. He'll lead off. Here we go. Miners versus Pilots, Game 7. Here is a line drive into left, and this is going to sit down immediately for a base hit along the left field line, and number 7 is going to cruise his way into second with a stand-up double to lead things off here in the top of the first.
Yeah, he's been one of their best hitters this season, one of the best hitters in the ABL, period. Out of Sitka, Alaska, a local kid. I say local, he's probably about a 3-hour plane or boat/drive away from here, but whatever the case may be, he seems to be right at home here in the ABL, and he continues his good streak here.
Leads the team in both at-bats and hits, and just added another one right there for the Pilots. For Marks, that is going to be his 20th hit of the year, the first Pilot to 20 hits. Meanwhile, next up will be Luke Hefner for Anchorage, as Kendrick will fire in a off-speed pitch that is just outside for ball 1. Mat-Su coming into this game with a 12-11 record, which currently ties them with the Peninsula Oilers for second place in the ABL standings. We'll get more into that later. Count is 1-0. Kendrick taking his time, and this is a line drive towards right.
Couple hard hit balls off of Noah Kendrick early. It's a similar thing to what we saw last time the Miners started a game in Game 2 against the Bucks when Rocco Bernardino allowed that first pitch home run, and the second pitch he saw was a really high foul ball that would have been a home run. It can be tough to start these games off against even a team as offensively challenged as the Pilots have been. If you're not locked in, they can make you pay.
Count goes to 1-1. A little CUSA on CUSA action here. One from Dallas Baptist, one from Sam Houston. These two familiar with each other in that aspect. 1-1 count. This is a fastball low. Count goes to 2-1.
Luke Hefner, one of 2 with that last name on this squad, hitting .268, 4 runs batted in, and just 11 hits across 41 at-bats.
Count is 2-1 here. Kendrick taking his time, keeping an eye on Marks at second. This is a softly hit ball that gets into right field over the head of Chase Wilcox. On his way to third, and now coming home is Marks, and he's going to score. And the Pilots take a 1-0 lead on an RBI single from the Dallas Baptist man, Luke Hefner.
Yeah, that was really unfortunate. Remember, Hefner, the last time these two teams played against each other, Hefner was the only one who was able to get a hit at all off of these Miners pitchers, and he put that one in the absolute perfect spot where none of the fielders could get to it. The McCausland out in right did his best, but by the time he got there, he knew there was no chance. So not the most auspicious start for the Miners, but they've fallen behind to the Pilots at this field early in past games, and it's gone all right for him.
Bunt is shown by Stogo. This ball gets by Blake Baltz, and the count goes to 0-1. Well, we've got a moment, folks. There is one noticeable change, a few changes in the lineup tonight, but there's one noticeable one in center field. It's Riker Scow. Drake Kerr will not be playing this evening. He has a injury that he sustained earlier on today, and he is going to hopefully be back soon for Matsu, but it is a tweaked oblique muscle.
Strained oblique, that's what you said, or tweaked.
Expecting him out for 5 to 7 days, but hopefully he will be back soon.
It's obviously a huge blow to this team. This is the first game the entire season that Drake Kerr has not been in the lineup for. Just a spark plug in so many ways.
Here is a liner into left and caught immediately by Kellen Strohmeyer. That will be out number 1. 1 down. Pilots still, though, with a 1-0 lead.
Good placement by Strohmeyer. He barely had to move for that one. But as I was saying, yeah, he is not going to be leading off. He's not going to be in his traditional spot in center field. This is the first time all season that someone other than Kerr has been in center. So it's going to be an adjustment for everybody. And hopefully the lineup, which has been having some trouble lately, can adjust.
And you're talking about the team leader in several categories, how Matsu adjusts to that. Jacob Cowles now at the plate. Going on to second now. The throw is in time. Great work by Blake Baltz. He's thrown out another as he takes care of Luke Hefner, 2 down.
He's one of the best defensive catchers in the ABL. He and Logan Vaughn together form a massive tandem behind the dish that any team in this league has. And you see it right there. Baltz with a cannon for an arm and not afraid to use it.
As Jacob Cowles now faces a 2-out situation, this pitch goes outside. Count goes to 2-0. Cowles working as the left fielder tonight. Pitch on the way, and that's in the zone. Count goes to 2-1.
Cowles at 219, 7 hits, 4 doubles. So when he does hit the ball, he hits it pretty far and has driven in 5 runs batted in.
That will be strike number 2. Count goes to 2-2, so Noah Kendrick with a chance to limit the early potential onslaught by the Pilots. If he can get one more strike right here, it'd be his first of the game. The 2-2. And that's low. Ball 3. As it rolls around in the dirt, Balt's able to keep it in front of him.
This is a big moment right here. You want to get out of this first inning without having to throw any more pitches.
Payoff pitch from Kendrick. This is a foul ball towards the dugout, and the count will stay at 3-2.
And it's impossible to overstate how massive that play by Baltz was just to get that runner off the base paths. This is a completely different situation now. Nobody on, 2 outs. Going to be much easier to salvage.
And a swing and a miss. Noah Kendrick gets his first strikeout of the game and takes down Jacob Cowles on a payoff pitch. But the Pilots strike first. An RBI single from Luke Hefner brings home Dylan Marks. Anchorage on top. We'll be back for the bottom half of the first inning. Riker Scow will be the leadoff man when we return. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. Welcome back to Palmer, Alaska. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call. And hey, the Conference USA presence just keeps growing in this game. Jace Russell on the mound out of Dallas Baptist to start things off for the Pilots tonight.
Yeah, this will be his 7th appearance for Anchorage, a 3.29 ERA in 13 2/3 innings. He's allowed 10 hits, 5 earned runs, 6 walks, and struck out 14. So this pitching staff for Anchorage, definitely not their weak point. They have a few studs in here, and Russell definitely one of those.
So Jace Russell will contend with Riker Scow, Ryan Richard, and Kyle McCausland to lead things off here in this game for Matsu. And of course, like we mentioned before, Riker Scow taking the spot from Drake Kerr, who is out with a tweaked oblique muscle.
Yep, so this is the first time since the very beginning of the season we've seen someone other than Kerr lead off. Remember, it was Don Patrizzi at the very start, but he's still in the lineup. He's batting 9th. It'll be Scow, Richard, McCausland, Perez, Wilcox, Baltz, Bisaccia, Strohmeyer, Patrizzi. And the defense around Jace Russell will be Owen Hayes at first, a local kid out of Palmer. Troy Sanders, second base. Luke Kiefner at short. Chase Knight, the third baseman. Outfield from left to right. Jacob Cows, Luke Stolga, Jack Dorn, and Junior Barajas doing the catching for Russell.
Pilots up 1-0. And remember, folks, outside of the 2-1 victory by Mat-Su on Friday, they have scored no less than 6 runs against the Pilots here at home in the other 3 games. So maybe a chance to have another one of those offensive explosions here tonight. They've been not quite up to the same standard as of late, although still solid. They've only scored 2 runs as their maximum over the last 4 games. Trying to change that tonight. Chase Russell versus Riker Scow. First pitch is a fastball that's going to be in the zone, and the count goes to 0-1.
And one of those games that they scored 9 runs in was the home opener here, in a game they fell behind 4-0. So this game is far from over.
That much it is. 0-1 count. And that's a breaking ball that tried to go inside, and the count goes to 1-1.
Riker Scow inserted into the starting lineup abruptly, batting 128 out of BYU. 5 hits, 2 of them doubles.
This pitch well inside, count goes to 2-1. He's also tied for 4th in stolen bases in the ABL with 7, which is a skill he shares with Drake Kerr, the current stolen base leader for Mat-Su, and in the ABL. Count is 2-1. See Russell taking his time. This is a fly ball into center. Back is Stolga, and he makes the catch in left center. 1 down here in the bottom of the first.
That thing carried just a little bit too far. It looked like off the bat it might be able to drop. But Luke Stolga tracked it down, and that'll be out number 1.
So Ryan Richard will make his way to the plate. The number 2 man in the order for Mat-Su tonight. Richard out of Lafayette, Louisiana. He's had 2 3-hit performances this season, one on June 6th and one on June 18th. 58 at-bats on the season, 12 hits, 4 RBIs. This is a breaking ball inside that finds the zone, and the count goes to 0-1. Richard is tied with Dom Patrizzi for the most walks forced this season by a Mat-Su player with 12. He also has the 4th best on-base percentage on this Mat-Su team. That is low, and the count goes to 1-1.
Yeah, like you mentioned, batting 207. That's down a little bit from where it was at the start of the year. He had such a red-hot start when he came here, joined the team just a few days, joined the roster even just a few days before the season was set to start.
1-1. This pitch comes in high, and that will bring it to a 2-1.
But he has been excellent defensively in the middle infield for this team. And he's come up with a lot of big hits when he's needed to. And the Miners trying to play from behind now for the 3rd straight day. Any contribution is needed.
He has certainly been clutch as this pitch goes to the outside. Count goes to 3-1. He may just be on the verge of forcing his 13th walk of the season if he can get ball number 4 right here. Russell going to try to avoid that. The 3-1. Pitch on the way from Russell. This is a fly ball out to left. It's going to stay in the yard, and the catch will be made. That'll be out number 2, so both Richard and Scow flying out to center and left, respectively.
Yep, just got under that one a little bit. Probably the opposite of what happened with Scow to lead off the game. He was clearly swinging away no matter what that pitch was, and just couldn't quite get optimal contact.
Jacob Cowles making the catch for the Pilots. That will send on Kyle McCausland for Mat-Su, the best extra base hitter on the team with 6 on the season, but hasn't had one in some time. He'd love to change that right here. This pitch goes outside for ball number 1. Count goes to 1-0. Despite his tough streak as of late, still 20 hits, 10 RBIs, and .253 as his batting average so far this season, and 3rd on the team in total hits, 2nd best on the team in slugging percentage. 1-0 count, and a high pitch for ball 2.
As you said, extra base hits paces the team with 5 doubles and 1 home run. 10 runs batted in total.
Former Conference Player of the Year during his time at Middlebury in Vermont.
And the NESCAC, which is not to be taken lightly, one of the best D3 conferences around.
Here's a chopper over the mound, picked up and not picked up by the second baseman Troy Sanders, so on to first will be McCausland, and we'll see what the official scoring is on the scoreboard. It's going to be called for an error by them.
They
And
gave him an error. I disagree. I think
I'm going to give him a single
that
myself.
took a tough bounce off the mound. It would have been extremely difficult for Troy Sanders to make that play running the other way. So I think that's the first hit of the game for the Miners. Kyle McCausland, maybe that is what he needs to break out of the funk he's been in.
So McCausland on to first. Christian Perez to the plate. Best batting average and on-base percentage on the team. And this pitch will scream by for ball one.
Like you said, the best batting average on the team at 288. He has 21 hits and 73 at-bats, 12 runs batted in.
Tied for second in the ABL in RBIs right now. Here's a throwback to first.
Of course, had that 2-run bomb the last time these two teams faced off here at Hermon Brothers. That ended up being the deciding factor in that game. The last extra base hit the Miners have hit to date.
The 2-0. Perez fouls this one back into the cage, and the count will go to 2 balls and 1 strike.
Miners just looking for a spark. Remember when it happened at this ballpark a couple weeks ago? Know quite when it's going to come.
That much is true, and this is going to be called for a strike. They say he went around, and the count goes to 2 balls and 2 strikes for Perez. So Matsu is 1 strike away from ending the inning scoreless. Perez trying to see to it that that doesn't happen. The 2-2. Pitch from Russell. Here's the throw to second. McCausland's check it. Got to second base in time. It's a stolen base for Matsu.
And he was dead to rights, and he knew it too. He stopped about halfway between first and second when he saw the throw coming. Kind of rethought his life choices a bit, but the throw was a little bit off to the left. He was able to slide in and avoid the tag. So some excellent base running, aided by a little bit of luck, has a man in scoring position.
So that will bring the count full at 3-2. They called it a ball. And now Perez with a payoff pitch. On the way, and a swing and a miss. So Perez is retired on strikes, and that will bring the bottom half of the first to a close. Pilots still on top 1-0. Miners will try to respond in the second when we come back. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. Welcome back to Hermon Brothers Field in Palmer, Alaska. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call with you this evening. We're at the top of the second between the Pilots and the Miners. And Anchorage up 1-0. The deciding factor right now is a Luke Hefner RBI single, and the Pilots will try to expand on that here in this frame.
It'll be Junior Barajas, Chase Knight, and Owen Hayes due up against Noah Kendrick, who, like I said, allowed those 2 hits, was able to get out of it with some help from his catcher, some excellent defense. And now here's a clean slate for him to try and get a clean inning. Keep on saying it. Eventually the offense is going to kick back into gear. They have these feast or famine stretches where they're just hitting the cover off the ball for a week and then they just dry up. So you never quite know when it's going to switch from one to the other.
A sophomore out of San Diego, Junior Barajas, will fly one up into the air into foul ground, and it is well fouled as it goes into the concourse area. Count goes to 1-1.
That is some serious distance on it. But again, he got under it and pushed it a little bit.
That he did. A left-handed batter for the Pilots. They have a few of those in the lineup this evening. The 1-1 and a swing and a miss. Count goes to 1-2. Nice high fastball by Kendrick.
Kendrick ended that first inning with a strikeout.
Barajas, one of the later additions to the Pilots, 28 at-bats, 4 hits, 5 RBIs, and a 167 on-base percentage.
Also homered in his Anchorage debut.
That he did, so he made quite an impact for the Pilots in his first game, and now trying to expand on that Pilot episode. 2-2 count. This pitch inside by Kendrick, that's ball 3. Towards the knees of Barajas that time. Payoff pitch on the way. Kendrick with the fastball, and he is not going to put this one in the zone. Ball 4, and Barajas is on to first with a leadoff walk.
Yeah, that count just really got away from Kendrick. He was up, I think, 1-2 in the count, and then threw 3 straight pitches outside the strike zone. So he'll try to buckle in here against Knight.
Yeah, struggling a little bit early on as Barajas makes it on to first. That's now the third base runner for the Pilots in this game. Chase Knight, number 13 at the plate. And there's a strike. Count goes to 0-1. This time it's a bit lower for Kendrick on the fastball, but able to find the zone. Knight, the freshman out of Pleasanton, California. 64 at-bats on the season and 13 hits. Second most hits on the team. 0-1 count. And it becomes an 0-2. Again, the lower fastball by Kendrick works to perfection.
That's good for a 203 average on Chase Knight. Just 1 run batted in for him and no extra base hits. About 11 walks, which is 5 more than anybody else on the team.
Yeah, that's something he's been very good at, and Kendrick has to be aware of. But he's got him at an 0-2 right now. He can potentially get his second K right here. Not going to happen yet. That's a hit by pitch. Got him in the knee area somewhere in there. So now 2 runners on base for the Pilots as Knight is on to first.
Yeah, it looked like it might have got him right on the foot, but I'm not sure. Took a bounce that appeared that way. Blake Baltz is going to go out and talk with Kendrick here. You know, we talked about it in that, actually, I don't know if that was actually in the episode, but we talked about it before our interview with Robert Burke III for the inaugural Valley Chats. We talked about how important a guy like Blake Baltz is to a lot of the pitchers on this staff. You know, Noah Kendrick is the youngest man, so not quite as experienced as some of the other players on this team, and Baltz has been there and done it. He's a veteran catcher from a, powerful D1 program, UCLA. So Burke attested to it, how important it is to have a guy like him be able to come out during the game and head in the right area, get yourself focused, and hoping that that'll pay dividends here.
So here comes a guy who hasn't been to the plate too often for the Pilots this season. Owen Hayes lets this pitch go by. It's low. Count goes to 1-0.
And the folks around here know Hayes well, out of Palmer. Does not have a hit so far in this season in 13 at-bats. Has scored a run, as well as a run batted in. Has drawn a pair of walks.
Trying to get his first hit of the year right here. And that's in the zone. 1-1 count. A little bit more to the outside part of the zone this time by Kendrick. 1-1.
He's the first baseman today in the absence of Brendan Shanahan, who unfortunately had to leave the team.
1-1 count. Kendrick the pitch and puts this one in the zone. As you mentioned, Shanahan no longer on the team.
So this is the third straight 2-strike count that Kendrick has had in this inning. The first 2 were able to reach base on free passes. So we'll see if the advice from his catcher comes into play here.
Kendrick keeping a close eye on second. This is a chopper left side, and it gets through the third baseman, Dom Patrizia. Now coming home for the Pilots is going to be a runner, and that's going to bring the score to 2-0.
Yeah, Rodrigo Barajas scores on that. That was really tough. I don't know if that's an error or a hit. Probably an error because he should have gotten that in his glove, but it went right off the side of the bag and took a really rough bounce into no man's land where nobody could field it. So another back-breaking run comes around to score, and the Pilots up 2-0.
So that brings it to a 2-0 lead as Hayes is on his way to first, and Knight is now at third. And the Pilots, with the 2-0 command, Matsu is going to have to buckle down here defensively. Jack Dorn now to the plate. Pitch on the way from Kendrick. This is going to be outside for ball 1.
And Dom Patrizia out of position right now. He's playing third base instead of his typical middle infield shortstop or second. So might have had something to do with it, but again, that is really tough to field that with the bounce it took.
It took a very odd bounce, and now this one is fouled off the foot of Dorn. Count goes to 1-1. Pilots enter this game with a 9-15 record overall. They have a chance to supplant the Chugiak ER Chinooks with a win tonight and move on to fourth in the standings.
And that's in spite of what happened last night between the Chinooks and Bucks. Very interesting result in that game. We'll leave it at that.
This ball fouled off. Count goes to 1-2. Dorn out of Happy Valley, Oregon, and Chaminade. 37 at-bats on the year, 8 hits, 4 RBIs, and a .310 on base percentage. Kendrick and the Miners still looking for their first out here in the top of the second. The 1-2. And that is outside and low. 2-2.
So let's see if this 2-strike count can be the one that he finally closes out. Any outs here will be huge with runners on the corners and none away. You want to keep this game from spiraling.
That you do. Kendrick trying to limit the potential damage here. Got a runner on third, and the 2-2 is outside.
The result I was alluding to, the Chinooks handily defeated the Anchorage Bucks last night. I don't remember exactly what the score was. I believe it was something like 6-1. So something in that area. I don't know if you remember it off the top of your head.
10-4 was the final score, I believe.
10-4.
Yes. 3-2, and that's low. That's going to be ball number 4. And the bases are juiced now for the Pilots as Jack Dorn forces a walk. That's the second of this inning, delivered by Kendrick.
So the bases are loaded with nobody out here. Troy Sanders, the 9-man, up to bat, and then it'll be back up to Marks and Hefner, who have the only 2 hits in this game. Baltz is going to go out and talk with Kendrick again, but this could go from bad to worse very quickly unless Kendrick is able to dig in.
And it looks like we're going to see pitching coach Steve Hecker make his way to the mound as well to talk things over with Kendrick.
See somebody getting loose down there in the Matsu pen. I'm not sure who.
Yeah,
they're not throwing pitches yet, so whoever it is, it might be a while until they're ready.
Yeah, it could take a second before we see a new pitcher, but obviously right now, Hecker trying to make sure that Kendrick can get through this inning without anything else going wrong for the Miners, but with no outs and the bases loaded, Kendrick is going to need some of his patented strikeouts to prevent the score from ballooning any further than it already has. Troy Sanders will be the man to the plate for the Glacier Pilots, the number 9 man in the order, and then it'll go back to the top with Dylan Marks, who had that leadoff double in the top half of the first inning. So the difficulty of the task does not change for Noah Kendrick. Still some Pilots batters who have had success against him tonight waiting in the wings.
Troy Sanders, a 140 hitter.
Fastball. This ball's popped up. It could work out for Matsu. Wilcox chasing after it in foul ground. And instead it's Baltz who makes the catch. Didn't even see him from my viewpoint, but he was able to come in under that and make the catch. One away.
Well, you couldn't. Yeah, it was right on the gravel right next to the wall between fair and foul territory. Baltz tracked it down, stuck his glove out, and made a nice catch, and that's huge. Getting a foul out, one of the least productive outs you can possibly have if you're the Pilots. And one step closer now, you're just a double play away from leaving the bases loaded. You're going to have to get through the most dangerous part of the order, though, with Dylan Marks.
Yeah, Dylan Marks to the plate, and as we've said before, the team leader in at-bats and hits. He now has 20 on the season as he faces a one-out situation, fouls this one back, and the count will quickly go to 0-1.
Marks at 229. Leads the team with 20 hits and 4 runs batted in. That does not lead the team, but Kendrick going to try and make sure he cannot pad that particular stat.
Pilots is a team with a 205 average on the season. Kendrick will watch this one go off the glove of the shortstop Bisaccia, and a run's going to score for the Pilots. Coming home is Hefner, and that will bring the score to 3-0.
Oh, that's just back-breaking, because if he had made that catch, that was almost certainly going to be a double play. He was right there, right on the bag. He could have stepped on it, but went right off the glove of Bisaccia there. So second error of the inning for Matsu, and second unearned run comes home. It's now 3-0.
Another unearned run, and that will bring the score to 3-0 as Knight comes home. Now it's Luke Kiefner at the plate with Marks at first, Dorn at second, and Owen Hayes at third. Pitch on the way. Breaking ball is outside for ball one.
So Kendrick has not allowed a hit in this inning. It's been walk, hit by pitch, error, walk, foul, pop out, and then error again. So 2 errors, 2 walks, and a hit by pitch. With some bad luck, that is your 2-run inning so far.
And that will be outside once again. Same style of pitch from Kendrick. Count goes to 2-0.
I think they might have actually given Marks a hit on the stadium scoreboard for that, which I do not agree with. I think the general rule of thumb is if you get your glove on it, you usually are expected to make that play.
Chopper right side, throw to home plate. Got one out, throw to first, and they got the second out. And that will be an inning-ending double play for Matsu, so that will certainly work out. Great work this time by Baltz and Chase Wilcox, but the Pilots do put 2 runs on the board, both of them coming off of errors. Matsu is going to need to respond. We'll see if they can in the bottom half of the second. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball right here on YouTube. Welcome back to Palmer, Alaska. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call with you this evening. This is Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. Chase Wilcox at the plate for the Miners. This is the bottom half of the second. Miners down 3-0. Not the first time they've been down by a decent amount early in a game here against the Pilots, but certainly not an advantageous position.
Wilcox, Baltz, and Bisaccia, the 3 due up, and Wilcox a great man to have lead off this inning because he's been swinging the bat rather well lately. Overall this season, a .259 hitter. Sorry to cut you off. 14 hits and 54 at-bats, 4 doubles, and 11 runs batted in. One of the most potent hitters on the Matsu team this season.
1-0 count. This pitch outside for ball number 2. Wilcox, the redshirt freshman out of Liberty, Missouri, and is tied for 3rd in the Alaska Baseball League in RBIs with 11 total on the season. Trying to keep that going here and get another couple RBIs tonight. 2-0 count, and this pitch will find the center part of the zone, 2-1.
It's important, of course, for the Miners to get this win, but also just to leave Hermon Brothers Field on a bit of a high note, because this is the last ABL home game that they're going to be playing until the 19th of July, which is a week from Friday. They play here against the Anchorage Adult Baseball League All-Stars on Saturday in a non-league game, and then they commence with a rather long road trip.
Count is 3-1 for Wilcox, and it is going to be a rather long road trip. 9 games in 8 days in that stretch, as that's ball 4 outside. Wilcox on to first. Leadoff walk for Matsu, and that is a much-needed runner aboard here in the top of the, or rather bottom of the second.
And I tell you what, he's got to have some kind of device that magically makes the ball go away from him while he's standing up at the bat, because lately he has just been excellent at drawing walks. That is going to be his 10th on the season, which is tied for second on the team. But lately he has just been much better at that facet of being at bat.
Throw back to first. Wilcox able to quickly jog back to the bag. Owen Hayes protecting first base. Blake Bolts to the plate for Matsu, working as the catcher tonight. He's already thrown out one runner and was a part of that inning-ending double play in the top half of the second. Pitch from Russell is going to be outside, and the count goes to 1-0. Bolts out of Rancho Santa Margarita, California, plays for UCLA. 41 at-bats on the year, 7 hits, 5 RBIs, 171 is current batting average. He once played an All-American game at Dodger Stadium, a fun fact about him. So he has had experience in some of the biggest venues, and he played for the Yakima Valley Pippins of the West Coast League a year ago as well.
Well, what's Dodger Stadium compared to here? At quite the same level of views.
Not the same backdrop by any stretch. 1-0 count. Baltz lets this one go outside. 2-0.
Say that as someone who has never been to Dodger Stadium or even to California, period. So
I have to agree on that one. I've never been to California. Would love to see Dodger Stadium one day, but I'd say the natural backdrop wouldn't quite be the same. They've got some good mountains out there regardless. 2-0 count. Fly ball into left. This one is going to be close to either being a foul or fair ball, and it's just fouled.
So close. Would not have been enough time for Dorn to track it down either. Right on the edge of fair territory off to right field. Too bad.
Yeah, it was really close to that right field line. Dorn was keeping an eye on it, and I thought for a second it just might stay within the line, but it was going to be a close call no matter what, and it did not find fair territory. So now Blake Baltz facing a 2-1 count, but that was solid contact. Maybe he can replicate that this time in fair ground in just a moment, and they are really trying to work on Wilcox over there as they throw back once again to first.
Yeah, Wilcox not the most prolific base stealer on this team. He's got 4 on the season. Has not been caught.
He's got a lot of speed, which can certainly help in the stolen base department. The 2-1, this pitch goes outside, ball 3.
Russell now having trouble finding the zone. He was able to coax weaker contact in the first inning, ended it with a strikeout, but looking a little worse for wear so far, so the Miners might get a couple of free base runners here.
Very well could. Russell on the verge of giving up ball 4. He's going to try Wilcox again, once again unsuccessful. Matsu entering today's game with a .216 team batting average, 160 total hits, and 91 RBIs. They are second in the ABL currently in runs batted in. But the batting average is towards the lower end of the league. They'd love to bring that up here. And that just finds the zone, a little bit low, but in, and it's a 3-2.
Yeah, I don't mind taking that pitch. That was right on the edge, right on the inner corner of the bottom of the strike zone. Could have gone either way. Unfortunately, Balt's now in a slightly worse position.
So the count goes full for Baltz. 3-2, Wilcox at first base. Russell, guess what? He's going to try to go back to first, and once again, unable to do anything with number 27.
Keeping Wilcox honest, I suppose. I'm not really sure what the end game of that is. In my opinion, you're just opening yourself up to accidentally throwing it 3 feet over the head of your first baseman.
That's the tightrope you have to walk. Wilcox is going, and this ball is going to be fouled off towards the left field area. Count will stay at 3-2.
What do I know?
So we'll see Blake Baltz try this again. Matsu trying to stay on pace for second in the Alaska Baseball League standings. And by the way, they will play the Pilots once again tomorrow at Mulcahy Stadium as part of a home-and-home stretch, you could say. So the count at 3-2. Matsu trying to get the first half of this home-and-home tonight. Fired in and outside and high. Baltz is on to first, and he claps his hands in excitement. Runners on first and second for Matsu. Back-to-back walks here in the bottom of the second inning.
Yeah, that's great plate discipline there. He waited it out. He had a couple near misses. Obviously, that ball right on the foul line looked like it might be extra bases, and then thought he had ball 4 with a ball that was right on the line, but he kept with it. And in the end, he is rewarded, and he causes the Pilots to have to use a mound visit here.
Well, Rich Price, or Skip as they call him, is making his way out of the dugout, and he's calling for a change in arm already. So we're going to see our first pitching change of the evening, as the Pilots will bring somebody else in Jace Russell's stead. He goes 1 inning and gives up no runs, but has allowed 2 straight runners on base for Matsu, both of them via walks. And now we will find out soon who the new man on the mound is for the Pilots. But Matsu is in position now to put a dent in this 3-0 Anchorage lead.
First digit is a 2. That might be 2-0, but I'm not sure. Waiting for the catcher to move out of the way. And we're on the edge of our seats here.
If it is number 20, it would be Colton Haas.
And I believe it is number 20.
Looks like it from my vantage point as well. In that case, if it is Colton Haas, it's the freshman out of Wasilla, Alaska, not too far from Matsu. And we were wrong. It's Max Zawastoski. Well, we're going to reverse that and say that Zawastoski is the team leader in innings pitched this season with 21 1/3 overall. And he is going to be taking on the best that Matsu can offer as Nick Bisaccia heads to the plate. This is going to be a test for him. Not the first time that he has seen Matsu this season, but it's going to be interesting to see what the Southpaw has in store.
Yeah, Zawastoski actually with 30 innings pitched on the season, which is tops in the entire ABL. He's the only, or one of the only players in the league with a complete game under his belt this season. A pair of starts. This is overall his 10th appearance, so kind of just a Swiss Army knife for head coach Rich Price. He has a 7.50 ERA. He's allowed 25 earned runs. I was making sure I had that number right. 25 earned runs in 30 innings pitched and just 13 strikeouts. So has not been particularly effective in any role so far this season, but he's gotten a lot of innings out of the pen, and he presents a chance for the Miners to pounce all over this team right now.
Yeah, 1-3 record on the season. And he will face first Nick Bisaccia for Matsu. And this could be an opportunity for the Miners against a pitcher that they have had success against in the past.
Bisaccia, the shortstop, who had that rough error a frame ago that led to another run coming in to score. Can he redeem himself?
Zawastoski went 7 innings against the Miners not that long ago, as that'll be a strike count, goes to 0-1 back on June 25th. Gave up 5 hits, but only 1 earned run, so it was a better performance than he had his first time around when the Miners played the Pilots in that season opener at home. Count goes to 0-1 here. Bisaccia showing bunt. We'll see if he lives up to that. Pulls back, and the count goes even at 1 ball, 1 strike.
It's interesting seeing players do that just to kind of gauge what the defense does when you present that new threat. You're like, okay, I'm bunting. This is what I'm doing. How are you guys going to stop it? See where the defenders move. If he wants to lay down a surprise one in the future, now he knows.
Pilots infield playing a little bit in. Not as far as they could be. 1-1 count. Now bunt. Count goes to 2-1.
Golden opportunity here with the bottom of the order. It'll be Bisaccia, Strohmeyer, and then Dom Patrizzi lurking down there in the 9-hole. He's a dangerous hitter. If they can get the inning to him, this could be a chance to score.
Runners go. Bisaccia will launch an opposite field shot into foul ground, and the count goes to 2-2. As it just went towards the Miners' bullpen. Looked a little promising off the bat, but just couldn't find fair territory. So Bisaccia will try it again. The sophomore out of New Providence, New Jersey, and Seton Hall. 48 at-bats coming into this game, 11 hits and a .229 average. 27 the on-base percentage, and that's a swing and a miss for a strikeout. So Bisaccia down on strikes, and Zawastoski steps up and immediately takes out a batter for the Miners.
Yeah, unfortunate there. Big first out if you're the Pilots, but Kellen Strohmeyer will bat with 1 away. Still a chance to do some damage. He's come up with a few clutch hits lately, including one against the Pilots here at home.
Strohmeyer had an RBI single back on Friday against the Pilots, the last time these two teams met. As that pitch is inside for ball one, it was his second run batted in of the season. He'd love to get number 3 right here, and who knows, maybe even number 4 if things go well enough.
If you want to know a little bit more about Kellen, check out our YouTube channel. Got something coming within the next couple days.
Here's a right side, picked up by the second baseman Sanders. Throw to second is in time for 1 out, but they will not be able to turn the double play. On to third is Wilcox, and advancing to first on a fielder's choice is Strohmeyer. Blake Bolts out in that sequence.
Yeah, that wasn't the worst thing that could have happened, as Wilcox now just 90 feet away. Patrizzi, all he needs here is a little poke into the gap to get the Miners on the board.
So Patrizzi to the plate. Mat-Su can get their first run of the game. If Patrizzi can get a solid swing, can send home Chase Wilcox. Strohmeyer at first. Here's a liner into left center as we go back to the top of the order. And we'll see if Scow can make some solid contact. He had a fly out to center his first time up. And now we'll see if he can get one down here. This pitch is high for ball 1.
Stream is back. Hopefully you guys caught that, but if you didn't, Dom Patrizzi with a 2-out RBI single to drive in Chase Wilcox and get Mat-Su on the board. It's 3-1 here.
Strohmeyer at second, Patrizzi at first. Riker Scow at the plate taking on the southpaw, Max Zawastoski. This is a chopper fouled to the left of the third base bag, and the count goes to 1-1 for the BYU man.
Scow, sorry.
Riker Scow with 5 hits on the season, tied for 4th in the ABL in stolen bases. We talked about that before. He's also forced 10 walks coming into this game, which could be valuable right here. Pitch by Zawastoski. Here's a line shot into left. It gets down. Coming around to Strohmeyer to home. Here's the throw, and it is going to be in time to get Strohmeyer. So a run is denied for Mat-Su, and the score will remain 3-1. But Dom Patrizzi does put a run on the board, an RBI single, scoring Chase Wilcox. That will do it for the second. We'll be right back to Palmer. You're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball on YouTube. Welcome back to beautiful Hermon Brothers Field in Palmer, Alaska. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call with you this evening, as Luke Stolga will make his way to the plate for Anchorage. Noah Kendrick on the bump for Mat-Su. Miners down 3-1, but they were able to cut into the deficit of 3-0 thanks to a Dom Patrizzi RBI single in the bottom half of the second, but they were also denied a run as Kellen Strohmeyer tried to score for the Miners, and he couldn't come home in time off of a throw from left field into the home plate area, and the catcher Rodrigo Barajas able to take him out.
Yeah, that was just unfortunate. A bit of base running that I'm sure Strohmeyer would like to have back. I'm not really sure why the stop sign wasn't thrown, because Cows was up and gunning almost before.
As that is a softly hit ball into center, and Scow cannot make the catch. He dove for it, he laid out, he did everything he could, but he could not come up with the baseball. It's going to be a leadoff single for Luke Stolga on a bloop shot into shallow left center field.
Yeah, that one was just tough. There have been so many balls put in the perfect position where the defenders couldn't get to him, and that one was an example. Scow gave it everything he had, but could not keep it in his glove.
So the bloop shot hits its mark as Jacob Cowles, the man who just helped with that final out for the Pilots, makes his way to the plate. Stolga now at first. Kendrick doing what he can to limit the damage. Pitch goes outside for ball one. Wasn't as bad as it could have been in the top half of the second inning. They gave up 2 runs, but a nice inning-ending double play saw to it that the Miners didn't give up more runs.
Yeah, that was good heads-up defense on that play by Wilcox when he fielded it down the first base line, knowing to throw home.
He and Blake Baltz connecting on a 3-2-3 double play. Count goes to 2-0 here for Cows. Mat-Su still with the best ERA in the Alaska Baseball League at 2.63. They've given up 56 earned runs coming into this game and have allowed the least earned runs and least hits in the ABL. Pitches inside, and that's ball 3.
Cows is the only strikeout victim of Noah Kendrick. Fell victim to that to end the first inning.
3-0 count for Kendrick. Here's the pitch, and this one is put in perfectly. Count goes to 3-1, just able to drop it in on that last little bit of the pitch.
Yeah, found a spot really nicely there. Just what he needs to try and find the control that he showed flashes of last inning.
It was in the upper part of the zone. Runner goes. Here's the throw from Baltz towards second base, and they're not going to be able to get Stolga in time. He steals second base, and either way, that was ball number 4. So Cowles will just make his way onto first base. And you see Baltz trying to exchange signals with Kendrick and make sure everything is clarified. Runners on first and second for the Pilots.
Yeah, that was a very high-risk, low-reward stolen base attempt there by Luke Stolga. When you have a 3-ball count and you might be getting to second base anyway. I guess I understand because it's a hitter's count. You are expecting Cows to be swinging there, but he very nearly got thrown out by Blake Baltz there.
And we're going to see a new pitcher coming on for Mat-Su. I believe that's Nolan Murphy, who is going to be taking the spot of Noah Kendrick. So Mat-Su makes their first pitching change of the day, and Kendrick's day ends after 2 innings pitched. 3 runs given up. Only one of those, I believe, earned. But not an ideal day for Noah Kendrick here.
Yeah, but he's relieved now by Nolan Murphy, who is thrust into by far the highest leverage situation he's been in all season. Murphy has been one of the best arms out of the bullpen for Mat-Su, but he's thrown just 5 2/3 innings and has not allowed a hit or an earned run across those 4 appearances that he's made for the Miners. Hometown kid from Wasilla, Mat-Su Valley baseball high school legend. Now he's on in a massive spot to keep this game from spiraling away from his childhood team.
He will first face Junior Barajas for the Anchorage Glacier Pilots, and I guess it's time to say the signature catchphrase, boogity, 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 let's go pitching Nolan, as he makes his way to the bump for the Mat-Su Miners. Obviously, like we've talked about before, the famous NASCAR fan, and he is going to try to rev it up against these Pilots with his arm. And the local guy out of Wasilla, Alaska, making his 5th appearance of the season. And you talked about it, Charlie. It may be the biggest spot he's been thrust into for Mat-Su.
It absolutely is. I mean, he's been on in bridge duty later in games when the outcome has pretty much always been decided. Not to say that pitching coach Steve Hecker doesn't trust him. He has been absolutely stellar the few times that he has been able to take the mound, but this is going to be a real test for him. This is by far the earliest he's ever entered a game, and I imagine they're going to ask a lot of innings from him. He inherits a pair of base runners from Kendrick, and the man he'll be facing off against, Junior Barajas, drew that leadoff walk back in the second that led to the pair of runs coming around to score.
So now both the Miners and the Pilots have each made a pitching change. We saw Max Sawastoski come in the bottom half of the second, and now Nolan Murphy in the top of the third for the Pilots and Miners respectively. All right, so here comes Junior Barajas to the plate. Second time that he's been up today, taking on Jacob Cowles and Luke Stolga at first and second, and face-to-face with Nolan Murphy here. So Nolan Murphy, known for his great fastball, also has a nice breaking ball that he can deliver. This one is inside for ball 1.
So, no, Kendrick's day is done after 2 innings and change. Allows 3 hits, strikes out 1, walks 2, hits 1, allows just 1 earned run.
This is a fly ball to right center field. Camping under it is Scow, and he will make the catch. Tagging and staying at second base here is going to be Stolga, as Riker Scow was all over that. Great work by him to get that quickly to third base. And Dom Patrizzi, 1 away.
That was great. Play by him. It's interesting. That's the first time we've seen anyone other than Drake Kerr out there in center making that play. Of course, Scow, we know he has a great arm. He's played in left field a lot during this season, but just a reminder that even when number 9 is not out there, it is dangerous to run on the Mat-Su outfield.
The outfield certainly has the ability to take you off of your base path. This is a liner into left that is just going to be fouled, and the count goes to 0-1.
Chase Knight was hit by a pitch back in the second, right on the foot.
Trying to get back on base for the Pilots in a little less painful manner, as Murphy takes a look at second, got off of the rubber, and decided to keep the ball in his hand. But you saw Ryan Richard come in there just in case Murphy wanted to try to make something happen. A 1 count for Chase Knight. He's already scored a run today, and that's a strike. Count goes to 0-2. Nice fastball for Murphy.
The issue hasn't been getting these Pilots hitters to 2-strike counts. It's been finishing the job. It's something Kendrick struggled with. Let's see how Nolan does.
Murphy is 1 strike away from getting out number 2 in this inning and getting his first strikeout. The 0-2. Fastball's outside, ball 1.
With Owen Hayes on deck, a little bit of Mat-Su rivalry action. Wasilla versus Palmer.
Yeah, Wasilla versus Palmer, and it's going to make for a very interesting dynamic. As that pitch is low and in the dirt, Balt's able to keep it in front of him. Good work. And the count goes to 2-2.
Once again, we've seen these Pilots hitters with a lot of plate discipline, just waiting on these Miners pitchers to throw around the zone, not finish the job.
They've been very patient tonight. The 2-2, and it's a chop foul ball. Ball goes toward the backstop. Count will stay at 2-2.
This is a big plate appearance right here to determine whether this game is going to spiral out of control for Mat-Su or if the Miners' bats are going to have a chance to get them back in this thing.
The 2-2 tonight for Murphy. It's a fastball, and it's outside. So we'll see our first payoff pitch upcoming from Nolan Murphy. How does he handle this spot against Chase Knight at the field he grew up attending, watching the Mat-Su Miners? Here is a ground ball to second. This could be a chance at a double play. Throw to first is going to be in time. The second double play for Mat-Su in this game will end the top half of the third inning. And a nice start for Nolan Murphy. Score still 3-1, Pilots on top, but we're going to take a brief moment to take a look at the ABL standings and see what the latest looks like.
Yep, as we mentioned, the Anchorage Bucks, after taking 2 against the Miners a couple days ago, then dropping 1 against Chugiak, they are now at 16-7. The Mat-Su Miners and Peninsula Oilers now back into a tie at 12-11. For the moment, Mat-Su does have the tiebreaker. They have a 5-4 advantage over Peninsula in the season series, but that final game here at Hermon Brothers Field in a couple weeks is going to be extremely pivotal toward determining who ends up hosting a playoff series in the likely first-round matchup between those two teams. Chugiak Eagle River at 8-13 and the Pilots at 9-15. This is the only game going on right now in the ABL, so everyone else not involved here is off. And the Pilots, as we mentioned before, if they get a win today, can jump back into 4th ahead of Chugiak Eagle River. And a little bit of a suspected gamesmanship there between the Anchorage Bucks, hoping that the Glacier Pilots would not snag that last playoff spot. But they can undo that nevertheless if they're able to close this out. Mat-Su, meanwhile, of course, this is a massive game with a lot riding on it. If they want to keep pace with Peninsula and keep out of danger of potentially having to go back down to Kenai.
It's going to be critical for Mat-Su to keep pace with the Oilers over the next few games. And like you mentioned, that critical July 20th matchup here at Hermon Brothers Field looms large. All right, Ryan Richard back to the plate for Mat-Su. 2, 3, 4 due up in the order. Richard, Kyle McCausland, and Christian Perez. Miners down 3-1, but looking to make up some ground. Max Sawastoski still on the bump. This pitch is outside for ball number 1. We saw Dom Patrizzi bring in a run for Mat-Su in his at-bat in the bottom half of the second inning, and now the Miners will look to keep that momentum alive with Richard, as that pitch is outside once more, a little high as well, 2-0.
Good take there by Richard, the Baton Rouge, Louisiana native, flied out to left field in his first at-bat back in the first.
The 2-0, and it is quickly ball number 3 for Max Sawastoski. So Ryan Richard with an opportunity to force a leadoff walk for Mat-Su for the second straight inning.
Couple of very borderline pitches, and Richard with a good eye.
He's one of the best, maybe the best, on Mat-Su's roster at doing this, and that's ball 4. A 4-pitch leadoff walk, and that's going to be the 13th walk of the season forced by number 2.
Second straight inning that has started with a leadoff walk. Wilcox drew one back in the second, and he came around to score. Actually, 2 straight walks to start that second inning issued by Jace Russell. That's the first one Sawastoski has allowed. And Kyle McCausland right now, one of 3 Miners with a hit in this game. A single back in the first, I should say.
Sawastoski with the pitch to McCausland, and it is outside for ball 1. Kind of the same exact spot over the last 2 or 3 pitches, and it is not finding the zone. So Sawastoski is going to have to change that up. Count is 1-0. And he will instead try to throw to first, and Richard is not fooled. Able to quickly get back to the bag. Owen Hayes has seen a lot of action in attempted pickoffs tonight between Sawastoski and the initial pitcher. 1-0 count. That is inside and low for ball 2. That's 6 straight balls pitched by Sawastoski.
Yeah, he still has not found the strike zone in this inning. And like I said before, that last inning started with 2 leadoff walks in a row. We might be about to see that again here in the most dangerous part of the order.
The 2-0. And ball 3. Boy, 3-0 count. 7 straight balls from Sawastoski, and Mat-Su could force 2 straight 4-pitch walks right here. Sawastoski's going to have to be careful. That may give Richard a little more impetus, as that'll be a strike count, goes to 3-1.
And even that was a close one.
That was very close, and McCausland, I don't blame him for letting it go by. Could have seen that being a walk in other circumstances as well. This ball's popped up right side, and this could be a backbreaker for Mat-Su. Hayes wants it, and he has it. 1 down.
Yeah, that's just unfortunate. You get that one pitch called against you, and that totally changes the at-bat. At 3-1, he feels like he has to swing, and that was the result.
So you go from a 3-0 and potentially 2 runners on base to 1 down, and Richard still at first. But a man who can help to turn that around is Christian Perez. We talked about it in his first time up, but best batting average on the team, best on-base percentage. He's very good at finding a way through those infield holes, and this pitch is low for ball 1. He can hit it opposite field or to the right field area. Just very versatile when it comes to where he can send the baseball. Heck, he's even driven a few to center. 1-0 count. Richard's going on to second, and slipping is Owen Hayes, so that's going to be a stolen base for Mat-Su, as Hayes couldn't keep his footing in the infield.
Yeah, he lost the ball. That was why he slipped. The ball fell out of his glove. He was trying to reach back for it, but obviously at that point, if you don't have it in the glove, first off, there's no way that you can throw Richard out. So miscommunication there. Might not have been expecting it. Richard has a stolen base, and for the 3rd straight inning, the Miners get somebody into scoring position.
And you see the dirt on Richard's uniform now as he slid in to take second base. And Perez lets the breaking ball go by. It's in for a strike. Count goes to 1-1.
Perez was not able to put it in play last time up. Strikeout swinging. But we know when he can tag it a long way.
He's already got 1 home run this year. One of the 4 that Mat-Su has managed this season. Here is a line shot that's going to sit down towards right. Throw to first is in time for a 4-3. Advancing on to third base is Ryan Richard, but 2 down here in the bottom half of the third inning.
Yeah, just a lazy little grounder, or not grounder, I should say, a lazy little bloop that if it had been a little bit faster, that would have gone right through the gap, but Troy Sanders was playing deep off to the right side. He was able to range over and grab it. Unfortunate for Perez, but again, it's not the least productive out you could have asked for. Richard now at third. All they need is a clutch hit. Chase Wilcox is the man.
He certainly is a man who can provide that. That's a breaking ball from Zawastoski, and the count goes to 0-1 as Richard is now at third base. I think if that hit for Perez had a little more velocity on it, it probably could have gotten into right field and through that 4-3 hole. It definitely was a Christian Perez style of hit. Just couldn't get it to sit down late enough, and there's a strike. Count goes to 0-2. Swing and a miss by Wilcox that time, and now he's in danger of getting struck out. And Matsu is looking down the barrel of potentially ending this inning with no runs scored. Wilcox hoping he can avoid that right here. The 0-2 lefty versus lefty, and that's outside. Count goes to 1-2, a little bit low as well.
He has some of the best plate discipline on the minors, especially lately with how many walks he's been drawing. I don't know if he'll do that here on an 0-2 count, but at the very least he can keep this at bat going a little bit longer, try and force a mistake.
The 1-2 with 2 outs. Pitch to Wilcox. And that's strike 3. Got him looking. Zawastoski strikes out Chase Wilcox. A bit of frustration from him. And Richard stranded on third base. The score is still 3-1. Pilots on top. Charlie Fellows will take you through the middle 4 innings. We'll be right back to Palmer. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube.
On to the 4th inning here at Hermon Brothers Field in Palmer, Alaska, home of the Matsu Miners, who currently trail this one 3-1 to the hands of the Anchorage Glacier Pilots. Charlie Fellows, Dylan Simmons on the call, and it will be Owen Hayes, Jack Dorn, Troy Sanders, batters 7, 8, and 9 to dig in against Nolan Murphy in his first full inning as he seeks to keep the Pilots off the scoreboard for the 2nd straight inning and give his offense another chance to dig back into this one.
Yeah, it was a great start for Nolan Murphy in his first inning of work in the 3rd.
That's lined into left field for a base hit by Owen Hayes. So Palmer winning that battle between the 2 major population centers in the Matsu. And that is the first hit allowed by Nolan Murphy this season.
Yeah, the battle may have been lost, but I still have faith that Nolan Murphy can win the war in this inning. And that's going to involve making sure that Hayes doesn't score. Just a routine ground ball into left field. Not much you can say about that. Just something that the Pilots were looking for. But now we'll see what Jack Dorn can do against Murphy.
Dorn walked last time up against Kendrick to load the bases with nobody out. He takes a ball. Murphy and the Miners trying to avoid losing their 3rd straight. And that will find the very edge of the zone.
Yeah, they haven't lost 3 straight, I believe, since that Peninsula series. So this is a situation that they definitely want to avoid.
Of course, they lost 4 straight down there.
Right.
1-1, just got a piece of it to Jack Dorn, the right fielder for Anchorage. Miners are undefeated here in Palmer against the Pilots this season. The same ballpark where Anchorage won the ABL championship back in 2023. Since that final game, they are 0-4 against the Miners in Hermon Brothers Field.
And in many ways, still trying to find their stride, find some momentum this season.
1-2, that's a lazy foul ball off to the left side. Now the Pilots are 9-15 and struggling to even remain in the playoff picture. If the season ended today, they would be out, 5th out of 5 teams. Mat-Su would like it if they would stay there. 1-2, third straight foul ball off the bat of Dorn.
Yeah, the last month of the season is going to be really interesting when it comes to playoff battles. There's really tight races all the way through. The only thing that's kind of a sure thing at the moment, at least, is the Bucks on top with 4 games between them and the Miners / the Oilers. But there's kind of a spot up for grabs all throughout the standings. Second is up for grabs and that 4th spot.
Outside 2-2. The ABL season has about 3 weeks left, 3 and change left in the regular season, and then the playoffs will commence. Mat-Su currently in the 2 seed, 2-2, swing and a miss. He got him. Strikeout number 1 for Nolan Murphy. Gets Jack Dorn down and 1 away in the 4th.
Nice pitch to the outside part of the zone by Murphy that time, able to handle the left-handed hitter Dorn. We've seen quite a few lefties today for the Glacier Pilots in the lineup, and Nolan Murphy not phased that time. Great strikeout, and that is a great way to set a tone for the rest of this inning.
Troy Sanders takes one right down the middle. He hit that pop-up into foul ground back in the 2nd, the first out of that inning.
You talked about the presence for the Alaskan presence tonight for both sides, really.
That's a lazy grounder right into the glove of Murphy. This could be 2, and instead it will be 0. Blake Baltz, the catcher, exasperated at that decision because the shortstop Bisaccia was playing well off the bag. Murphy threw it to him, expecting him to be there ready to make the play, but instead he will not, so everyone will be safe. Hayes goes down to 2nd. Sanders on with a fielder's choice.
Yeah, that was an odd play. Murphy, I think you're right, expecting Ryan Richard to be closer to the bag that time, and he just threw it to him, and he was well off the bag. No chance for him to get Owen Hayes out. That's one of the odder plays you'll see.
That's a looping curve into the zone against Dylan Marks, who has doubled and reached on an error today. Has also scored a run. With Owen Hayes at 2nd, Troy Sanders at 1st, and 1 away in the top of the 4th. Nolan Murphy pitching with base runners on for the first time this season. That's lofted into foul ground, a quick 0-2.
Yeah, a chance for Murphy to get a quick strikeout, and that'd be huge, especially with Hayes at 2nd base. We saw the success the Pilots were having early on against Noah Kendrick. Right now, you've got to find a way to take them off of their rhythm, and a strikeout would be just the thing.
0-2. He struck him out. Swung right through it, did Marks. He is retired for the first time, and Murphy's got 2 Ks here in the 4th.
That was another Alaska versus Alaska battle that time. You had the Sitka, Alaska player Dylan Marks and the Wasilla native Nolan Murphy, and Wasilla won that time. Great strikeout swinging by Nolan. Already showing you just how good he can be, especially when he's on point. It always seems like he makes a very smart play. He never makes a play that's going to leave his team in a tough position. He'll give up the odd hit here and there, but whenever the chips are down, Nolan is always a guy who you can rely on to get that strikeout and to make the other team have to struggle to get on base.
1-0 on Luke Hefner with a single and a ground out. Hit into that inning-ending double play. Murphy left it out again. Trying to avoid giving up his first earned run of the season, although I'm not sure if Hayes would be earned if he did come around to score. I'm not sure how that was scored. If the shortstop being off the bag there could have possibly resulted in an... In any event, 2-0. And behind in the count now is Murphy.
I'm going to call it an error for the moment, but that one could be changed post-game if I hear a better case for it. It's one of those kind of bang-bang plays, so I could see both sides.
3-0, and that's in the dirt. 4-pitch walk will load the bases with 2 out. Hefner aboard for the second time, and it'll be Luke Stolga as Nolan Murphy tries to get out of this.
Yeah, that pitch a little bit low that time by Nolan, and 4-pitch walk, obviously not what he was looking for. All of a sudden, the bases are loaded, and this becomes a huge at-bat for the Pilots. They got an opportunity to really put Matsu on the back burner, so Nolan is going to have to be really careful, especially with the danger that Luke Stolga can sometimes provide.
He does have a home run in this season, a single and a line out so far today. Swings through that, 1-1. Baltz did a great job keeping that in front of him.
That he did, and Blake's been doing a great job of that all night long. He's really good at locating the baseball, which you've got to be able to do as a catcher.
And that's lined right at the man that was at third, and it goes off his leg. Owen Hayes was leading off third base, and he tried to jump out of the way, but he couldn't. So that's just going to be a do-over. They'll just ruled out a foul ball. So it will be 1-2.
Yeah, it went right off of his leg like you talked about. That's one of the odder things we've seen in the ABL this season. And in that situation, like you mentioned, it's awarded as a strike. And that brings the count to 1-2. So that's a very unfortunate circumstance for the Pilots and a chance for Nolan.
Lofted foul off the right field side. Murphy can get out of this inning with his third strikeout of the frame. It has gone single strikeout, fielder's choice strikeout, walk. And now a 1-2 is way outside. Baltz got just a little bit of his glove on it, and that definitely saved a run as he was able to collect it.
Boy, it did. That's another great example of how big Blake Baltz's presence at the plate has been tonight, because that was absolutely heading towards the backstop. Able to pull that thing in and, most importantly, bring it to a 2-2 and make sure that nobody comes in to score.
2-2 from the Wasilla native, and that's hammered out to left field. Going back, Strohmeyer, and right at the base of the wall, he's going to look at that go over the fence for a 2-out grand slam and a 7-1 hole. The Pilots blow it open in the fourth.
My gracious, that thing just over the wall that time. And Stolga, we talked about his home run ability. Well, he just showed it right there up and over Strohmeyer. He was trying to do everything he could to locate it, maybe make a play on it, but there was no saving that baseball, and that is the first grand slam we've seen with our own eyes in the ABL this season, and it's a game-changing and potentially game-crushing play for the Miners.
Second home run of the season for Stolga, and what was once looking like a potential Houdini act by Nolan Murphy, it caught up to him there. All of a sudden, the Miners down by 6 runs here at home, and the crowd is out of this one. That's hit to the opposite field into foul territory by Cows. Coming on is Patrizzi and can't quite get there. It'll fall down for a foul ball. 0-1 on Cows, who has walked and struck out swinging so far today.
On that last pitch, it was low and in by Nolan, and I think Luke Stolga saw that, able to capitalize in that situation. That's the one pitch where Stolga has been the best at this season, and he knew exactly what he needed to do. And now Matsu's got a huge hole to get out of.
Ball there inside. I can't help but wonder if Nukasachia had been in position to turn that double play and end that inning. Almost certainly would not have been this big of a deficit the Miners would have to climb. That's hit to the opposite field. Patrizzi fields it this time. Throws across to Wilcox at first. He's just able to stay on the bag and retire the side. But a 2-out grand slam off the bat of Luke Stolga blows this game wide open. It is 7-1. Pilots on top here at Hermon Brothers. Bottom 4 coming up. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. Bottom of the fourth we go at Hermon Brothers Field in Palmer, Alaska. The Miners allow 4 runs in the top of this inning. They trail at 7-1. On the wrong end of that deficit against the Anchorage Glacier Pilots, it will be Max Awostowski on for his second full inning against Blake Baltz, Nick Bisaccia, and Kellen Strohmeyer as the Miners try to get something going and maybe get back into this game.
Yeah, a tough grand slam given up by the Miners in the top half of the fourth. Luke Stolga, the recipient of that grand slam. But the thing with Mat-Su is that they've staged comebacks before, including against the Pilots. Remember, they were down 4-0 to start the game off in the home opener. So there's still very much an opportunity. And this is a guy who they've had success before against in Max Awostowski. So the chance is still there, but Mat-Su's offense is going to have to wake up soon.
Strike one comes into Blake Baltz, who drew a walk back in the second, courtesy of Jace Russell. Miners with just 3 hits so far today, and he rips that one foul down the first base line. Pilots not normally one for putting up crooked numbers on the scoreboard. Their wins have been tight so far this season for the most part. But the Miners, only other time they've really gotten blown out so far this season, obviously still a lot of baseball left to play in this one, but if this margin stays similar here, it would be that and then the Bucks game here at Hermon Brothers, as that skips in the dirt, and that's going to be strike 3 called, but Baltz is going to go on to first base. Wasn't sure if he had made contact with that, but apparently he did not. So he's on with a leadoff strikeout that gets away from Junior Barajas.
Yeah, it was kind of an odd play, and like you mentioned, Baltz kind of stood there for a second, wasn't sure if he'd made contact with that or not, and then he was like, well, what the heck, I'll just go on to first base, and that's what he did. Able to get it on that pass ball, and maybe this is the ingredient to get Mat-Su going here in the bottom half of the fourth and take a bite out of this lead.
Nick Bisaccia had a strikeout back in the second after Wilcox and Baltz drew back-to-back walks. And he'll take one right down the middle. Batting with a man on and none out in the bottom of the fourth.
He's also forced 7 walks this season, so it's definitely in the realm of possibility for him to get on base that way.
It'll be a tall favor, though, considering it's now 0-2 to the man out of Seton Hall playing shortstop today.
Yeah, a lot of infield changes for Mat-Su today, and we've seen some tough mistakes from the Mat-Su infield.
That skips in the dirt, stopped by Barajas to prevent Blake Baltz from advancing.
But still an opportunity for some redemption as this game progresses. It's not about how you start necessarily. Sometimes it's about how you finish, and if Mat-Su can finish strong, there's going to be a chance here.
1-2 from Zawostowski. The lefty deals, and that's in for strike 3. Down on strikes for the second time goes Nick Bisaccia, 1 away.
Yeah, that was a fastball by Zawostowski that Bisaccia could really do nothing about. It was low in the outer part of the zone, and Bisaccia decided to take the chance, and it didn't pay off. That's a tough strikeout. And now one.
Zawostowski, the first one got away from his catcher, which allowed Blake Baltz to reach base, so it is 1 out for Strohmeyer, who was able to reach on a fielder's choice. He takes one high and tight. The Iowa Hawkeye out of Dubuque, looking for a key hit here.
Former home run record holder at Dubuque High School.
1-0 in the dirt. Once again, Barajas able to keep it in front of him. Pitchers on both sides having issues with their command.
And that's something that Mat-Su could exploit here. One of the best teams when it comes to forcing walks, and they're trying to apply that pressure to Zawostowski. It just means you have to be very careful about how and when you put the ball in play.
Tried to hold up, he did not. 2-1 is the count. Strohmeyer sought to clarify the ruling of that pitch.
It's a very thin line between how aggressive you want to be when it comes to putting the ball.
That's hit high and deep out to right center field. Going back on it are the outfielders for the Pilots, and they won't get to it. Rounding third and headed for home here is Blake Baltz. Kellen Strohmeyer's got a stand-up triple, and Blake Baltz is into home plate to double Matsu's run count and make it a 5-run ball game.
Man, one of the wildest triples we've seen this season, and I'll tell you what caused that. Luke Stoll got out in center field trying to chase after that baseball. Watch that thing almost go underneath the wall that time. There's a small gap in between the grass and the wall, and we saw the baseball almost go into it. Stolga trying to fish it out, couldn't get it out in time, and Balt able to come all the way home, Strohmeyer all the way to third. What a magnificent one-out triple, and that is what Matsu was looking for.
Saw that too. I was wondering if we might see an inside-the-park home run at first, considering how long it was taking them to dig that one out. Patrizzi throws bunt, and that's in the dirt for ball one. So all of a sudden here with one out, Kellen Strohmeyer 90 feet away. That is by far the biggest hit he's had all season.
That's his third RBI as well, and now he's had 2 straight games against the Pilots with runs batted in. What a stretch for him against them.
1-0 to Patrizzi, and that's hit well out to right field. Going back on it is Dorn, and he'll make the grab, tagging, and scoring is Strohmeyer, and he'll do so without incident. A sac fly from Patrizzi increases his RBI lead in the ABL, and it is 7-3 here at Hermon Brothers.
Yeah, Patrizzi with number 15 on the year, easily able to come home as Strohmeyer, and this is what Matsu needed. You don't have to get it all back at once, but they are responding to that grand slam and showing, hey, we're not going to back down. A nice sacrifice fly, and all of a sudden we're kind of back to where we started. Matsu still down 4, but feeling a lot closer than it did just a second ago.
Scow will bat with 2 away, taking strike 1. Of course, taking the spot of Drake Kerr, who was scratched before the game. Scow with a single and a fly out so far today. In the dirt for ball 1. That single he hit was the one that Kellen Strohmeyer attempted to score from second on back in the second inning. He was thrown out at home while trying to do that. But Scow still gets credit for the hit. He'll look at a 1-1 low. All of a sudden, Zawistowski really struggling to put his pitches where he needs to, and even though the base paths are empty, the Miners seem to have figured him out.
Well, as the legendary Queen and David Bowie would say, he's under pressure right now, and lots of it. Matsu applying it heavily.
That's cranked out to center field, but not deep. Luke Stolga will make the grab to retire the side. The Miners tack on a couple. They respond to the grand slam with a pair of runs of their own. It is now 7-3. The Pilots still on top as we head to the 5th inning. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball here on YouTube. To the 5th inning we go. Miners trail the Glacier Pilots of Anchorage 7-3, but they're coming off a positive inning. They need a smooth one from Nolan Murphy and the pitching staff. He will deal with Junior Barajas, Chase Knight, and Owen Hayes, batters 5, 6, and 7. As the crowd is back into it here at Hermon Brothers between the exciting extra base hit by Kellen Strohmeyer and a round of Sweet Caroline. They are ready to egg on their hometown kid and hope that a little bit more momentum can go the Miners' way. That's ripped into right field, but looks like it'll drop foul, and it will, off the bat of Barajas with a walk and a fly out so far today.
Yeah, the son of former MLB player Rod Barajas at the plate. We've talked about him before. And this is the part of the order that has been giving Matsu a lot of trouble in this game. So this is where Nolan Murphy is going to have to buckle down. We've seen a lot of success for them as of late.
In tight for a ball, 1-1. Murphy, of course, allowing that leadoff single, a fielder's choice, a walk. Not all that was his fault. There was some defensive mistakes, but the grand slam with 2 outs, as that's a mile-high pop into shallow left field. Scow ranging on, and he'll make the grab for out number 1. So he's looking for a much cleaner go of things here.
Yeah, good work by Scow to track that down, and easy pop fly, and right now that's what Matsu needs to see more of. And the biggest thing for Nolan that I'm curious about is how does he respond after the grand slam? Obviously, that is never a good feat for any pitcher. It's about the worst thing that you can have happen. So let's see you overcome that. Because outside of that, he hadn't given up an earned run all season long, and
that
kind of lost the grip of that one.
Got away from him, sails to the backstop, 1-0. He's had a couple of pitches like that Baltz had no hope of securing. 1-0 offering, and that time Baltz did have a chance at it, but could not secure it. 2-0.
Yeah, it was a little bit low. You could see it, or rather hear it go off the mitt of Blake Baltz, just unable to come up with it, bouncing way up in the air. Got to a 2-0 against Knight, who we know can force walks.
Nate has been hit by a pitch and grounded out today. 2-0, swing and a miss on a high fastball. Excellent offering there by Murphy, and he's on the board here in this count.
Knight's forced 11 total walks on the season, so one of the best on the Pilots when it comes to that category.
He'll hit a grounder down the first base line. Wilcox will toss it underhand to Murphy, who wins the foot race and gets out number 2. Good defense there between the Central Missouri Mule and the man out of Central Washington.
It was interesting that time. I thought Wilcox may just run on to first and get the out that way, but instead he decided to go to Murphy, maybe just understanding the situation and not wanting to risk a foot race with a guy who was already running towards first base. Instead, take the throw and get him out that way.
So it is round 2 of Wasilla versus Palmer. Hayes won round 1 with a single to lead off that 4th inning. He also reached on an error when Nolan Murphy was on the bump. Or excuse me, when Noah Kendrick was on the bump. And he'll take strike 1 to start this one off.
Yeah, nice high breaking ball that time by Nolan. We talked about his ability to deliver the breaking ball early on, and that's a great example of that. Top part of the zone, nothing that Hayes could do about it.
0-1. Skipped it in the dirt. Base paths are empty, 2 away. Miners going for their first 1-2-3 inning today. Murphy's 1-1. Into center field, Scow has it, and that indeed will be the clean frame the doctor ordered. A 1-2-3 inning after the Miners tack on 2. Momentum now firmly in Matsu's favor. We'll see what the Bats can do with it. We're halfway home here in Palmer. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. bottom of the fifth we go. Miners 3, Anchorage Glacier Pilots 7, and Ryan Richard, Kyle McCausland, and Christian Perez trying to keep the train rolling after a productive bottom of the fourth inning, trying to dig the Miners out of what was once a 7-1 hole.
Yep, and right now Mat-Su is kind of got some of that momentum back here in this game. Question is, can they keep it going? Ryan Richard leading off for the second time today in an inning, and we'll see if he can bring some success for Mat-Su here.
Swinging right through that. He led off the third with a walk, also flied out in the first. Batting second today, the second baseman, number 2. Looks at an 0-1, and that also finds the zone. Zawistowski still on after a rocky fourth inning. He allowed 2 runs, only one of which was earned on that leadoff strikeout that resulted in Blake Bolts reaching base, and that is 3 pitches and 3 strikes. Richard goes down for an opening K.
That's kind of uncharacteristic for Ryan to be that aggressive when it comes to a plate appearance. He just swung and missed at 3 straight pitches, but obviously felt like there was an opportunity there, just couldn't deliver. That's a tough first strikeout for Mat-Su.
That's the 5th by Zawistowski, 6th overall. Russell had 1. And Kyle McCausland will dig in now with 1 away, a single and a pop out today. And he hits one hard out to left center field. Cows and Stolga going back, and that's going to land in the gap. It'll be extra bases for sure. Cows has it and throws on. Will keep McCausland from third base, but he's on with a 1-out double. The extra base hit King delivers a classic here.
And that's his 7th of the season, a beautiful double into left center field. And you talked about Stolga being back, as was Cows, and neither of them able to do anything with that baseball. It was well into the gap, a perfect shot, and probably as perfect as it could have been for McCausland. No way that either of them could have done something about that.
Absolutely. So Christian Perez can do some damage here. He's 0 for 2 today. But you know how powerful that bat is. The future Sacramento State Hornet with Kyle McCausland on second, as he has been so many times this season. Zawistowski deals, and that's a high pop-up into shallow right. Converging on it are a few fielders, and it's going to be Stolga, the center fielder, to make the grab. 2 away.
Yeah, it's another example of Perez just not able to find his groove in the early part of this game. Made good contact with that one, just couldn't get the velocity on it to make it into a line drive. Instead, he just popped it up in the air, and easy pickings for Stolga. But Perez is definitely making contact with the ball. He just needs a little bit more mustard on it to get it where he wants it to go.
Chase Wilcox has walked and struck out in this game, also scored a run. He has a critical at-bat here. With McCausland in scoring position, the Miners need every run they can get. So we're over halfway through this game here. That skips in the dirt about 3 feet shy of the bag, and McCausland got caught in no man's land there. It was a good stop there by Barajas. Otherwise, McCausland would have been off to the races, and I think he thought it was going to get past Barajas. Had to scamper back into second. Does so without being thrown out, luckily.
Yeah, that was a good guess by him, too, because I thought the same thing, and Barajas able to bring that thing in. It was a fortunate thing for Mat-Su, and especially for McCausland. Important thing, though, is that he's still on second base and still alive.
1-0. Chopper on the ground to second base. Sanders has it. He'll throw on, and that will retire the side. Nothing comes of a 1-out double by McCausland. The margin will stay at 7-3. We're on to the 6th inning here in Palmer. You're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball on YouTube. top six here at Hermon Brothers Field. Charlie Fellows, Dylan Simmons on the call as the Anchorage Glacier Pilots lead your Mat-Su Miners 7-3 in the fifth and final matchup here at Hermon Brothers Field between these two teams. Mat-Su trying to avoid dropping their first game at home against the Pilots this season. But to do that, they'll have to overcome a 4-run hole that they are currently in while their pitchers blank the Pilots from here on out. Nolan Murphy is on to face Jack Dorn, Troy Sanders, and Dylan Marks, coming off the first 1-2-3 inning any Miners pitcher has mustered, and that is into right field for a base hit off of Dorn. He's got his first hit today, so a leadoff single allowed by Murphy for the second time.
Yeah, a little drive into right center that time by Dorn. About as simple as you're going to get it in. Richard trying to hop up and get it. Nothing that he could do in that spot. That's a pretty simple single.
Troy Sanders has reached on a fielder's choice, popped out in foul territory, also scored a run. Waves at a breaking ball for strike one. The Glacier Pilots with 7 runs on 6 hits. They've committed 2 errors. Miners with 3 runs on 4 hits, also 3 errors. Here's an 0-1, is laid down as a bunt, and that's going to be a strike. I'm not really sure how that didn't fall in 2 strikes. Murphy's going to work a little bit slower here. Now a 1-2, and that is right into the zone. A beautiful pitch. A curveball from the arm of the righty from the Mat-Su Valley. Gets his 3rd K of the day. Troy Sanders goes down and a big first out.
I'll tell you what, some of his curveballs in this frame have been superb. That was an incredible curveball, kind of towards the inside part of the plate that time, and it broke in perfectly. About as good as you can ask for from Nolan Murphy.
So 1 away, a cut and a miss by Dylan Marks, who struck out at the hands of Murphy back in the 4th. Also a double, which led off this game, and an error.
There is some activity in the Mat-Su bullpen. We'll be keeping an eye on that, so potentially this could be Murphy's last inning.
It would be his 3rd full inning. He's going to almost double his total innings count this season. And he's now up 0-2 on Marks, one of the most dangerous hitters in the lineup for the Pilots, in danger of striking out for the 2nd time. Murphy working quicker, and he's got him. Another one, the exact same pitch on the inside corner. Strike 3.
Yeah, the same style of curveball, and Dylan Marks struck out for the 2nd straight time by Nolan Murphy. There's really nothing you can do about that pitch because how do you counter that? It's inside. You've got no way of really swinging at it. That's just a perfectly positioned pitch, and if Nolan Murphy can keep that up, it's going to be really hard for any of these hitters to do something about it.
A man on first and 2 away, Luke Hefner, swings at a pitch that nearly hit him. He has singled, walked, and grounded out so far today. He was aboard when Luke Stolga smashed that grand slam. The perpetrator of that heinous act currently on deck.
I'm sure Nolan does not want to see him if at all possible.
That's a weak ground ball. He looks like he'll get his wish. Wilcox will take it himself, and that is another nice clean inning. A leadoff single does not lead anywhere for the Pilots. And for the 2nd straight frame, Anchorage is blanked by Nolan Murphy and the Miners D. 7-3 the score remains as we head to the bottom of the 6th. Mat-Su trying to mount a comeback. You'll want to watch that, so don't go anywhere. Mat-Su Miners Baseball on YouTube will return. Baltz, Nick Bisaccia, Kellen Strohmeyer, the three due up in the bottom half of the 6th inning. Mat-Su Miners trying to chip away at this 4-run deficit any way they can. They failed to score back in the 5th after getting 2 runs home 2 innings ago. Blake Baltz was one of those. He led off that inning with a strikeout that the catcher Junior Barajas could not field cleanly. He made it to first, later got a ride home on that Kellen Strohmeyer triple. And he'll look at the first pitch, which is low in the dirt from Max Zawastoski, still on the bump. He's allowed 4 hits, struck out 5, walked 1, and allowed 2 runs, 1 earned. And 2 of the 4 hits he's allowed, the last 2 are extra base hits.
Yeah, 1 a triple, 1 a double. So right now for him, he's, I'm sure, thinking about how do I limit Mat-Su from making solid contact with this baseball right now. If the Miners can get more of those, that will put them in great position to cut this 4-run lead. And I'm sure that's what Blake Baltz is thinking about right now.
1-1 from the lefty is high and tight. Baltz has also drawn a walk in this game. Cut down promptly thereafter on a fielder's choice. Wanting to lead off this inning with a base runner, which has been such an indicator of success in the past. He's 1 ball away from doing just that.
And Zawastoski has issued his fair share of walks in this game. So there's an opportunity for Blake Baltz, who has forced 7 walks on the season coming into this game. So let's see if he can get number 8 right here.
3-1 to the catcher, and that's going to be high for ball 4. So it will be a leadoff walk. Baltz reaches base for the 3rd time today, the 2nd walk he has drawn. And it will be Nick Bisaccia to bat, who has struck out swinging and struck out looking so far today, looking for a solid piece of contact. And now with a man on first ahead of him, that could do some damage.
Nice plate appearance by Blake that time. Very patient. Let the ball go by. Didn't take any unnecessary risk, which Mat-Su needs right now. Every single out that they can stay away from matters at this point. That was a good job to get a 5-pitch walk by Blake.
That pitch missed outside to Bisaccia. Is the 3rd leadoff walk issued by a Pilots pitcher so far today. 1 by Russell and 2 now by Zawastoski. Lefty throws on to first base, as he has been so wont to do. Of course, it's an advantage being left-handed. You get to look at first base during your windup, hold the runners a bit better. Now the lefty's 1-0. That just found the outside corner. Bisaccia has struck out twice today. In a critical moment, that is exactly what he's looking to avoid. That or a double play.
Talk to the home plate umpire for just a second, probably trying to clarify the zone.
Swing and a miss at a high pitch that time. 1-2. To the 3rd baseman today, or excuse me, shortstop today out of Seton Hall. Hitting .229, 5 runs batted in, and just 1 extra base hit on the year. Now a big 1-2. Lay it off it. Blake Baltz on first, and Kellen Strohmeyer, the man who crushed that triple into the very deepest reaches of Hermon Brothers Field, lurking in the wings. 2-2. Zawastoski will forgo it for now.
Yeah, trying to work on Blake Baltz at first. We saw them do this earlier with Chase Wilcox, just to see if there was an opportunity. So far, it hasn't worked for the Pilots yet today, and Mat-Su hoping it stays that way.
2-2 comes home, and that's low and in. Good plate discipline by Bisaccia. He's got himself in position to draw the 2nd straight walk from Zawastoski and get the Miners in business.
There is a little action in the Pilots bullpen right now. We'll see if that leads anywhere.
Payoff pitch. That's in for strike 3. Nick Bisaccia doesn't like it, neither do the fans. He's got some words for the umpire as he's walking back to the dugout. But he is down on strikes for the 3rd time, and it looks like that will be it for Max Zawastoski. Head coach Rich Price is coming up to replace the pitcher. Of course, he allowed that triple to Kellen Strohmeyer last time up, so I don't blame him for the decision, but man, that was a tough call.
Yeah, that was in the lower part of the zone, and you saw Bisaccia, ask the home plate umpire about where the zone was and where he should expect it to be. And I think that he was probably upset because he thought he had the clarification, and then he was like, what the heck? That's not what I thought we agreed on. And now with that, you've got a strikeout and a new pitcher.
We already know the Pilots are planning on a bullpen game tomorrow. That is going to be number 11
Peyton Allen.
in relief, Peyton Allen, to take over with one away here in the 6th.
A pitcher that Matsu is familiar with. He's made, I believe, a couple appearances against the Miners this season, and now he's back trying to keep the Miners away from a potential comeback.
Pilots out of Prospect, Texas, and the University of Houston, number 11, Peyton Allen.
He is a Texas man. Has a 3.18 ERA, I should say, in 17 innings. Has allowed 16 hits, 6 earned runs, 8 walks, and 11 strikeouts. Also 4 doubles, which is tied with Sawastoski, who, of course, has now allowed 5 along with the triple this season. He is 1-1. This is his 6th appearance.
The other winner, 9180.
As I said before, though, we already know the Pilots are planning a bullpen game tomorrow, so they're probably looking to preserve their bullpen however possible.
Last against the Miners on June 28th did Allen. He had 2 innings pitched, gave up 6 hits, 5 runs total, and 3 earned runs. So he has had his better days against the Miners in the past, and 28th was not one of those. Matsu may have an opportunity here to continue to cut into this lead if they can take advantage of Peyton Allen. And you see that sidearm delivery that he's known for.
Strohmeyer will be at the plate. He had a RBI triple back in the 4th. That was probably a couple more Luke Stolga bobbles from being an inside-the-park home run. Got wedged underneath the little space in between the green wall and the ground. There's a little bit of chain link fence there, but if a ball rolls in there, it can be tough for a fielder to locate, and the center fielder for the Pilots, Luke Stolga, found that out the hard way. Kellen Strohmeyer has also reached base on a fielder's choice in the 2nd and was thrown out trying to score. So he's been right at the center of this action so far today, for better and for worse.
This is about the same situation. We've talked about it that Kellen found himself in when he was going up against Max Sawastoski. Can he repeat that success?
First pitch swinging and missing is Strohmeyer.
But the thing is also, you can't think too much about that last at-bat, especially with the new pitcher. You just got to play the ball from wherever it is, and there's an opportunity to draw a walk. Why not take that as well?
0-1, popped him up into shallow left field. Cows has it and will return the ball to the infield. That is a 2nd out.
And that's an example of an opportunity at a deep shot, just unable to get it down. Hung up in the air too long, made it easy for Cowles to camp underneath it. That's a big 2nd out for the Pilots, and now that puts more pressure on Dom Patrizzi to get something going here.
Dom has been also heavily involved in this game, had an RBI single back in the 2nd and a sac fly in the 4th. He's driven in half of Matsu's runs. A sac fly will not do it here with 2 away and Blake Baltz at first. If he wants to get it back to the top of the order, he'll need to put it in play and make it to first, something he is excellent at. One of the top on-base percentage men on the Miners. Waiting for an 0-1 from Peyton Allen, and that's right down the middle.
A lot of Allen's pitches are low, so there is an opportunity to send it deep if you're Dom Patrizzi. But right now it's all about timing it up perfectly, and Allen able to keep it or make it an 0-2, so Dom's going to have to be careful.
And he popped him up once more. That is into shallow right this time. The second baseman, Sanders. And instead it'll be called for and caught by Jack Dorn. So another inning with no score. The Miners go down. And 7-3 the score remains. We head to the 7th here in Palmer. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. 7th between the Miners and the Anchorage Glacier Pilots. 7-3 the score remains, and Nolan Murphy's day out of the bullpen is done. He goes 3 2/3 innings, strikes out 4, walks 1, and allows 4 runs on that grand slam. On to pitch in his stead will be Eddie Mendoza.
Eddie Mendoza has made 4 appearances on the year. The redshirt sophomore out of Eagle Pass, Texas, plays for Incarnate Word. He's given up 2 hits, 4 earned runs. He does have 5 strikeouts on the season. Born in San Antonio, and he will need a disciplined performance to handle the Pilots' bats here.
Luke Stolga, Jacob Cows, Rodrigo Barajas, the trio due up against Mendoza. The Pilots have not scored since that grand slam. They've gone 2 straight scoreless frames, as have the Miners.
Right now, the key for Matsu is just trying to make sure the Pilots stay within striking distance. Anything more than 4, especially at this juncture in the game, feels a little bit too far. So right now for Eddie Mendoza, it's all about limiting any damage.
Still trying to get warmed up. Luke Stolga will lead off this inning. He is 2 for 3 with a line out, a single, and a grand slam, which he hit back in the 4th with 2 outs. That got the Pilots to their current run total of 7.
Yeah, this is going to be a tough test for Mendoza to face. You got the guy who already has a grand slam in this game. So it's all about making sure that he doesn't put anything in play. And if possible, he'd like to get a strikeout.
If it wasn't for that swing, this game would be tied right now.
Right.
Butterfly effect aside. And now Mendoza will get to work. Showing bunt immediately is Stolga. Interesting choice from the man who just cranked one over the left field fence, but he looks it by for a strike.
Yeah, I like that initial fastball by Mendoza, though. Right towards the outside part of the plate. Put it in perfectly.
0-1. Swinging, got a piece of it there, but down the third base line it rolls foul. With Cows and Barajas due up, a chance for another clean inning. The Matsu Miners offense has shown flashes. They've had a base runner in every inning this game. They've scored 3, which in either of the games they played against the Bucks would have been good enough for a win.
Gonna probably try to use that fastball.
He will, but he'll miss. 1-2. Tried to get Stolga to chase.
Yeah, Stolga not fooled that time. It was a little bit outside the zone. Kind of similar to that first fastball we saw from Mendoza.
Got a lot of action in the Miners bullpen. Options that they'll have in the coming innings. That pitch missed just high, and the count will even at 2-2. And Mendoza trying to get his first K of the day. It would be the 6th overall.
That was very close that time on that pitch as well. I thought at first it was a strike. Just missed the top part of the zone.
That one just stopped by Blake Baltz to bring the count to full. Mendoza with a 9.00 ERA. In 4 innings, he's allowed 4 runs. 3 walks, 5 Ks. 2.200 batting average against. Payoff pitch from the Incarnate Word Cardinal. And he'll pop him up, foul out of play.
Keeping the count at 3-2. And right now it's kind of a chess match between these two. Eddie's trying to get him to bite on the fastball. Luke is not relenting. Somebody's going to have to give in at some point. And it's going to be soon.
Another payoff and another foul. Stolga refusing to give in.
And this is also going to put more pitches on Eddie Mendoza and kind of wear out that arm faster, which is another benefit for the Pilots and another reason for Eddie to do his best to end this quickly.
3-2, and he just missed. Mendoza thought it was a K. The fans did too. Not the first time they've been upset with a call made by the home plate umpire today, but it goes the way of Luke Stolga. He's got a leadoff walk.
I'll tell you, from my vantage point, I thought that was a strikeout. It looked to me like it was just in that bottom right corner, and instead, called by the home plate umpire is just outside. It was borderline, but that's one that I'm sure Eddie's not going to be happy with.
I definitely agree with that. Swung and fouled into the backstop there by Jacob Cows. A strikeout, a ground out, and a walk today. That was the 4th walk issued by the Miners, which is an issue they've had at points during the season. 0-1. That's high and away. Another jumping stop there by Baltz. Mendoza needs to get it under control, or else the Pilots might tack on a couple more insurance runs.
Blake's done a great job today of keeping the ball in front of him. You could argue that there could be a couple more runs on the board had it not been for what he's been able to do. He has done a tremendous job as the catcher in this game.
Mendoza, once again, just got a piece of it there, did Cows, the left fielder. 1-2.
Now a chance for Eddie to finish off what he couldn't do against Luke Stolga, and that's get a strikeout. Cal's not as efficient as Stolga, so the opportunity is certainly presenting itself.
He's got 5 of them on the season, does Mendoza. The Miners pitchers have 5 so far in this game. 1-2, and that's lined into right field down for a base hit. Stolga will make it to second and stop there as the throw by the outfielder with a cannon for an arm, Kyle McCausland, makes him think better of trying to go first to third, but 2 straight base runners to open this inning, and already a mound conference will commence.
Yeah, you see Baltz kind of trying to talk things over with Mendoza at this point in time, and that was a pretty quick gap shot to the right side. Easy for Cows to get to first base on that one. And right now, the Pilots are going unabated onto the base path, so Eddie's going to have to be very careful with how he approaches the rest of these batters. Got to lock down.
That is the 7th hit of the day for the Pilots, which equals their run total. Junior Barajas has walked and flied out twice to center. Also scored back in the 2nd inning. With runners on first and second and none out, Eduardo Mendoza trying to navigate out of a jam. First offering into the catcher. Just misses the zone. Nearly lost his hat as well.
And we know that Barajas has been solid today and solid all season long. And this is a massive potential turning point in this game with Stolga at second. He is looking at the plate right now. Mendoza's got to find a way to hold him.
1-0 pitch, and again, that's just outside. That was a call the Miners pitchers were getting earlier in the day, that's for sure.
Yeah, again, it's that same boundary, whether it's the left side or the right side, and much like you, I thought that was a strike. It's got to make the pitcher second guess, where's the zone at, and where do I send the baseball?
2-0 on the ground and past the glove of Wilcox into right field. This will score a run. McCausland backs it up, and first to third goes Jacob Cows. Staying at first will be Junior Barajas. He reaches on a fielding error by the first baseman Wilcox, normally sure-handed with the glove, but a costly mistake there. It is 8-3 here in Palmer.
Yeah, Wilcox is usually so good in those situations, and instead he just let that one kind of go by. He tried to get his glove on, and I think that he almost underestimated the speed of it or something like that. Either way, it just got out of his glove, and all of a sudden Matsu with 4 errors in this game, and now an 8-3 lead for the Pilots. Things are getting tough here late.
Pitching coach Steve Hecker on to talk with Eduardo Mendoza. Chase Knight, the man at the plate, has been hit by a pitch and grounded out twice. Just as a reminder, after the final pitch is thrown in this one, you can stick around on the broadcast. We'll have a member of the Matsu Miners up in the broadcast booth to talk with us about what happened during the game, what went wrong, or barring a miraculous comeback, what went right. Either way, you'll want to hear it. So that will be immediately after the conclusion of this one. It's been a long game. We're already well over 2 hours in and only in the top of the 7th. So we happy everyone still with us. Anyone on the East Coast, happy 12:09 a.m. Now Mendoza will throw tonight. Still no outs and runners on the corners. The third baseman spoils the first pitch, 0-1.
Yeah, Knight at the plate for the Pilots, and All of a sudden, it's become that much tougher for Matsu. Every run you give up is an opportunity to come back, slipping and slipping and slipping.
Marner thought about going, chose not to. That was probably wise. A lazy swing there by Knight. He's quickly down 0-2. Scoreboard is still not updated at the ballpark, but it has just now. Pardon me, 8-3. 0-2 from the Texan, and that misses just wide. Knight almost went around, but does not. Still activity in the bullpen for Matsu, as the bullpen now in full effect here to just get the outs necessary to get through this game. That one misses high. Curveball from Mendoza evens up the count at 2-2.
Matsu coming into this game with 195 strikeouts. They've now hit 200 on the season. That's been their bread and butter in many of these games. They just haven't had the same effectiveness with it tonight. And that's maybe part of the reason why they find the situation that they're in.
2-2 fouled back. This is an issue that Noah Kendrick had early on in the game. He gets 2 strikes. He gets out to a lead in the count, but he can't finish the job.
Right.
Nolan Murphy was able to do that 4 times. Kendrick just once. Mendoza looking for a big K to try and stop the bleeding here in the 7th. 2-2. And that'll be in the dirt. Did he go around? No, he did not. Umpire at shortstop says that he was able to hold up, and that will bring the count full.
Yeah, and more Miners fans unhappy. They thought he did go around that time. It was very, very close. From my vantage point, I think that was the right call, but I could see both sides on that one.
Another payoff pitch for Mendoza. That time it's off to left side of the infield and through for a base hit. That will score Jacob Cowes. Another single hit by the Anchorage Glacier Pilots, and they are up by 6 runs in the 7th inning.
Yeah, it was a pretty simple shot into the gap that time on the left side between the shortstop and third baseman for Matsu and Basacci and Patrizzi. Nothing either one of them could do about it, and I think this is going to be the pitching change.
Indeed, it will be. Head coach Tyler Brunn coming out, so Eddie Mendoza fails to record an out. He is done after allowing 2 hits, 1 walk, and 2 runs, just one of them earned. He will be replaced in relief, I believe, by Nico Tomasello.
And we'll clarify that in a second. And it is Nico, so this is going to be a big one for him. He's been very good in these situations in the past for Matsu, and he's going to have to be that way again.
He's been very effective, a 1.69 ERA. This is his 7th appearance, all out of the bullpen. In 10 2/3 innings, he's allowed just 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 11 walks, but 8 strikeouts. And he will be on in mop-up duty with Chase Knight and Junior Barajas at first and second, respectively. Still no outs in the top of the 7th. Bottom of the order for the Pilots due up in the form of Hayes, Dorn, and Sanders, as Tomasello, the San Diego State man, will throw a few warm-up pitches, and we'll be back to the action here.
Yeah, he's made 6 appearances on the year, 8 strikeouts, 10 2/3 innings pitched, giving up just 2 earned runs, a 1.69 ERA. One of the better bullpen arms that Matsu has had, and of course they have so many great arms on this team that it certainly shows just how deep they are. But right now it is not going to do much to make a dent in this 9-3 deficit against the Pilots. Matsu's offense is going to have to find a way to respond to give this team any hope, but perhaps Nico can at least put them in a position to do that.
Most runs the Matsu Miners have allowed this season is 11. That was in that 11-7 loss to the Chugiak Eagle River Chinooks last week. They have allowed 9 twice, or now 3 times actually. 2 against the Bucks and now 1 today against the Anchorage Glacier Pilots. Still threatening for more as Owen Hayes will come to the plate. A single, an error, and a line out so far today. Tomasello gonna try and end this 7th inning. Already 2 runs are home. And he'll start off Owen Hayes with a strike.
Tell you what, a ground ball up the middle could work wonders for Matsu in this spot. Wouldn't mind seeing that.
It would most likely not score a run. This time I am correct in saying that the scoreboard has not updated yet. And did they just call a balk on Tomasello? No, they did not. They were saying something to him. Normally when you see the umpire step out from behind the catcher, that's what he's signaling, but not sure what the clarification that time was. Tomasello's 0-1 is in the zone. So here we are again. No balls and 2 strikes.
Yep, like we've talked about, this is where Matsu has struggled today, but Nico, a guy who's been pretty good at finishing off in these spots. And let's see if he can do that against Hayes. Get a big first strikeout.
The Aztecs 0-2. And that's a ground ball right to Tomasello. He bobbles it, is able to pick it up and throw on to first. There may have been potentially a double play there in play if he had been able to field that cleanly, but it still would have been difficult. He gets the first out. Barajas goes down to third base, Knight to second, and it will be Jack Dorn up with 1 away in the 7th.
Yeah, tough to say if there was a double play opportunity for Matsu. It was a pretty softly hit ball. Mendoza kind of bobbled it for just a second. That's going to live in the world of unknowns, but either way, it is an out, and good work by Nico to recover in time, and most importantly, get that first out.
Dorn has walked, singled, and struck out swinging so far today. Just gets a piece of the first offering from Tomasello. 0-1. Miners, just as a reminder, will be facing off against these very Glacier Pilots at Mulcahy Stadium tomorrow at the same time. The second half of that home and home. After that, they'll have an off day, take on the Anchorage Adult League All-Stars on Saturday, then another off day, and then the gauntlet begins, 9 games in 8 days between Monday the 15th and Monday the 22nd, 5 of which are on the road.
Yeah, it's going to be the biggest and toughest stretch of the season for your Miners, but we'll see if they're up to the task, and if they're going to make a run at the championship, I think that's going to be the stretch that kind of highlights whether or not they are at that level and can take the best of the best.
Definitely a sink or swim moment for the Miners. Barring any miraculous comeback today, they will drop to 12-12 on the season, a half game back of Peninsula, second spot in the ABL. There are no other teams in action in the Alaska Baseball League today, and some kind of gamesmanship going on here as the umpire called time seemingly twice in a row from Jack Dorn, which you cannot do. But in any event, the 1-2's coming, and that's a swing and a miss. He brought the high heat on that one, and Tomasello is rewarded. Strikeout number 6 on the day for the Miners pitching staff. Dorn goes down for the second time, and a big second out to try and get out of the 7th with no more damage.
Yeah, that's Nico's signature strikeout, perfectly able to place that thing in the lower part of the zone, and nothing that Jack Dorn could have done in that situation. Just what the doctor ordered. Now we'll see if we can finish it off.
Swing and a miss there by Troy Sanders, who has also struck out once today, reached on a fielder's choice and popped out. Got a ride home in the 4th on that Luke Stolga grand slam.
Here Miners fans in the background still cheering on their team. Love to see that these fans are devoted until the bitter end. They haven't lost belief, and maybe that can inspire the Miners late.
Miners fans are a different breed. The sun is out now for the first time since the beginning of this game. And a 1-1 from Tomasello. Again, a swing and miss, that time at a pitch in the dirt. Barajas at third, Knight at second. Tomasello looking to leave him there.
He's doing a great job with these lower pitches right now. They are fooling Troy Sanders and the rest of the Pilots. Maybe he can get one more of those to get the strikeout.
Swing and a miss. He could not hold up. Sanders goes down on the second straight K by Tomasello, so a good recovery. He gives up that opening single, but then gets 3 straight outs to end the inning with only 2 runs of damage. Still a 9-3 deficit with just 3 outs remaining. Check it 9 outs remaining for the Matsu Miners. I'm all out of sorts today. It will be the trio of Scow, Richard, and McCausland to lead off in the bottom of the 7th. Stay right here. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. on the other side of the stretch, it will be the top of the order due up for the Mat-Su Miners in their quest to erase a 6-run deficit and pull off a miraculous win in front of the home crowd here at Hermon Brothers Field in Palmer, Alaska. Charlie Fellows, Dylan Simmons on the call. And it will be Peyton Allen again for another inning of work. He came on after the strikeout recorded by Max Sawastowski back in the 6th inning, got a pair of flyouts, coaxed them by Kellen Strohmeyer and Dom Patrizzi to end that frame. The sun is now out in full force, as you can see, perhaps a sign of things to come for the top of this Miners order.
Yeah, right now Mat-Su is trying to get some redemption after some early struggles. This is a guy, Peyton Allen, that they've had success against before. The Pilots have been able to fend them off as of late. But if the Miners can put together some consistent hitting in these final 3 innings, there's going to be an opportunity. This game is far from over, and Mat-Su is a team that doesn't quit until the bitter end.
Scout takes one inside, and I got to say, about the exact same position as about half a dozen pitches thrown by Eddie Mendoza last inning.
Yeah.
0-1 to the center fielder. That time it's a little too far inside with a curveball. You got the emergency start after Drake Kerr was injured in pregame warm-ups. He has flied out twice to center field and also slapped a single. That one is right down the middle. The BYU man has a 1-2 count. Every member of the Miners order, save Christian Perez and Nick Bisaccia, has reached base at least once today. Scout trying to make it twice. He's one ball closer to doing that. 2-2.
Don't need anything spectacular in this case. Just got to find a way to get on base. If he can get a ground ball on the left or right side, that will be exactly what Mat-Su could use.
That misses to bring the count to 3-2 at one of the most skilled walk takers in the ABL.
And if he gets on base, that's even bigger for Mat-Su with his ability to get stolen bases.
3-1, slap to right, but right at the second baseman Sanders. Could not get over his head down for a base hit. Instead, that will be out number 1. Solid contact, but unlucky off the bat of Scout.
Again, just wrong place, wrong time. Sanders right there. You put that thing a little bit more towards center, a little bit more towards right, it's probably going to get down for a base hit. Instead, it went right to him, and that's just plain unluckiness.
Ryan Richard, a fly out, a walk, and a strikeout today. Was stranded at third base back in that 3rd inning. Allen starts him off with a strike on the outside corner. In this matchup between two teams sporting a West Coast MLB team kits. As that's high and tight, and I think that clipped him. No, it did not.
No, I guess it didn't.
It clipped somebody. It must have hit the catcher.
Yeah, it definitely sounded like it made contact. I thought it maybe got him in the wrist, but looks like that was not what happened. I just see no issues with Richard.
1-1 from Allen. That gets away from Barajas. 2 balls and 1 strike. Pilots, of course, in their Dodgers blue and gray. Mat-Su Miners in their Oakland A's green and white.
Always love those signature looks to the jerseys.
That's grounded down the third base line. They, along with the Anchorage Bucks, I'll let you venture a wild guess as to what team they are modeled after. 3 out of the 5 teams in the ABL that have taken, let's just say, heavy inspiration from clubs in the major leagues. 2-2 is just low. Good take by Richard, and for the second straight count, a chance for a walk.
And he's already forced 1 walk today, and he's brought it to a full count. This is going to be a crucial pitch.
Payoff pitch, and that's high and tight. Allen has issued his first base on balls. Richard reaches base on a walk for the second time, and with 1 out, a chance for Kyle McCausland, who hit a double back in the 5th his last time up, to spark some life into this dormant Mat-Su offense.
This is why Richard is so good at drawing walks. He doesn't over-pursue a pitch. He lets it come in, recognizes where it's at, and he doesn't get too aggressive. He walks a really fine line and does a great job of it.
Cut and a miss. Swinging for the fences there on strike 1. McCausland with a single, a double, and a pop out. The Miners today have drawn 5 walks, along with 4 drawn by the Pilots. So a lot of free passes on both sides, and another swing and another miss. McCausland is Known for getting like this at times during the game, very aggressive, wanting to make a splash right away. Sometimes he is successful in doing so, but sometimes he gets himself into an 0-2 hole, able to lay off that one.
Yeah, I think he's playing with a sense of urgency right now and trying to make something happen for Matsu. He senses that this game is getting down to the wire, and he's trying to get Matsu a chance to come back in this one.
1-2 on the ground to short. This could be 2. On to second for 1. On to first. A nice stretch by Owen Hayes, and that's nice if you're not a Miners fan because that will retire the side. McCausland grounds into a double play, and now it will be 6 outs remaining for the Miners to mount a comeback here today. If they do so, it'll be in Dylan Simmons' voice. Home stretch will belong to him. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube.
Welcome back to Palmer, Alaska. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call with you this evening, and your Miners are down 9-3 to the Anchorage Glacier Pilots, but still 2 innings of baseball left, and hey, who knows, maybe Matsu can get a comeback going, but if they're going to, it's going to have to start with the defense. Nico Tomasello still on the mound. He's done a pretty solid job so far, trying to keep that going as he delivers a nice pitch in the zone. Count goes to 0-1 against Dylan Marks.
Marks has struck out his last 2 times, led off this game with a double.
Tomasello working fast, and there's strike 2.
And Tomasello struck out the last 2 men he faced in that 7th inning. He came in, allowed that single that scored a run belonging to Mendoza, and was perfect from there.
Time called by the home plate umpire as Tomasello was getting ready to fire off what could have been the strikeout pitch.
Yeah, umpire missed that one. It's clearly Tomasello was already winding up. Should not have been allowed to call time.
Instead, we'll try it again. The 0-2, and that's outside and low for ball 1. So again, a potential strikeout is taken away by the home plate umpire. Obviously not what he intended, and there's the strikeout, so it doesn't even matter. Tomasello puts that one right down the middle, and a leadoff K against Dylan Marks to open things up in the top of the 8th.
The unholy trinity for Marks, 3 Ks on the day and 3 straight at bats, no less. He had a hot start to the game, came around to score in that first inning as well, but since then it has been a rough go for the Sitka native. He's been struck out once each by Murphy, Mendoza, and Tomasello.
And another strike by Tomasello. He is really finding the zone in a early and often fashion here in the top of the 8th inning as the count goes to 0-1. Pitch on the way. This is a softly hit ball into shallow left, and it drops down in front of Cochran, going on to first and getting the out in time. Great work for Matsu. That was Nick Bisaccia. My apologies. I'm so used to Cochran being at shortstop. Able to get on that baseball and get out too.
That was a fantastic play by Bisaccia. He's had his share of unfortunate moments out there at shortstop today, but he makes an excellent play there. Lets the ball drop in front of him instead of trying to lay out for it and potentially risking it being a hit. And he's able to throw on, just barely beat out Luke Hefner.
Swing and a miss here by Luke Stolga, who is going to be the biggest test for Tomasello in the top half of the 8th inning. But great work by the shortstop there. Swing and a miss. Count goes to 0-2 quickly. So many infield changes today, it's hard to keep up with everybody. You've got Bisaccia at short, Patrizzi at third, and those are 2 guys who are kind of newer to those positions. This ball's popped up into foul ground. We'll see if it's playable. It will not be, as it lands somewhere up and over the stands. and the count will stay at 0-2.
Luke Stoga is the man Pilots fans have to thank for what is on its way to becoming a blowout win for Anchorage. He had that grand slam back in the 4th, led off the 7th with a walk, later came around to score on that unfortunate sequence by Eddie Mendoza.
That's a pass ball as it went through the glove of Baltz that time. 1-2, pitch by Tomasello. This is a line drive into left, and this one is going to sit down in front of the wall for a base hit. Stolga with another extra base hit. It's going to be a stand-up double for the Pilots.
I've got a man in scoring position now with 2 outs. First hit surrendered by Tomasello. Check it, actually, the second.
So Jacob Cowles will now come to the plate. And the Pilots, who have struggled offensively all season long, are just continuing to find ways to get hits against Matsu tonight. They entered this game last in most statistical categories in the ABL, number 5 in batting average, number 5 in on-base percentage, number 5 in RBIs. And yet today they have just hit pay dirt time and time again. Cowles to the plate, pitched by Tomasello. This is a ground ball up the right side for a base hit. Coming around to Stolga to home. The throw is not in time. Stolga scores, and it's an RBI single for Cowles, and the Pilots have put double-digit runs on the board.
Yeah, there's not much Kyle McCausland could have done with that. He threw the best throw he could have possibly come up with given the circumstances, but the throw got in right on time and wasn't possible to tag out Luke Stolga, so he scored his 3rd run today. Cows with a 2-out RBI hit, and it's 10-3 now.
10-3, Pilots on top, the biggest lead of the day. Tomasello with an inside pitch, and that's a strike. Count goes to 0-1.
That was hit number 11 on the day for the Pilots, by my count anyway.
I've currently got them at 10. That might be on one of those errors that I put down, but we'll keep an eye on that, and if corrections are needed, we can make those post-game. 0-1 count for Junior Barajas. Tomasello trying to end the top of the 8th. Swing and a miss. Count goes to 0-2. Nice fastball by the man from San Diego State.
Barajas has walked, flied out twice, and reached on an error, scored a run in the 2nd inning. Also been on the receiving end of a few wild pitches by Max Sawastoski.
Tomasello the pitch, and it's outside. Ball 1. Tried to go to the outside part of the plate that time and couldn't get it to land. And Junior Barajas, the lefty, up against the righty pitcher, trying to make life hard for him. Fastball down the middle, and it's low. Ball 2. And Baltz doing a good job of keeping the baseball from getting to the backstop. Count evens at 2 balls and 2 strikes. If the Miners fall, they will fall to 12-12 on the season and get back to 500 for the first time in a good bit. The 2-2, this is an opposite field foul ball, and the count will stay at 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Just unfortunate go of things against the 2 Anchorage teams, losing those 2 maddening 2-0 games down in Mulcahy, and you know, this game just felt like it got away from them pretty quickly. They're going to have to pick themselves back up and right the ship before that gauntlet upcoming.
That pitch is low by Tomasello. The count goes to 3-2 rather. And again, Matsu's 1 out away from bringing this game to the bottom of the 8th. But Tomasello is struggling against Barajas. Maybe he can pull a rabbit out of the hat right here. Payoff pitch. Runner goes. It's high. It's ball 4. And that will be 2 runners on base for the Pilots. Barajas on to first and Cowles on to second.
That was a 0-2 count that became essentially a 4-pitch walk. The first issued by Tomasello, and all this damage has come with 2 outs. He had those 2 quick putouts on Marks and Hefner, but the middle of the order has been the trouble here in the 8th.
As they really have been all game. It's been this part of the order that has done the most damage time and time again. Chase Knight to the plate. As that pitch is outside, count goes to 1-0. Looks like Aiden Dolinsky is getting ready to warm up in the bullpen for Matsu. We'll see if he makes an appearance at some point in this game. Here in cleanup duty, 1-0 count. comebacker that goes off of Tomasello, and Matsu was not aware of the baseball and where it was. Tomasello kind of stopped. Wilcox is frustrated after that one. I'm not sure if Tomasello just expected Wilcox to go after it, but either way, that's going to load the bases for the Pilots, and that play kind of emblematic of the night it's been for the Miners.
Yeah, I don't think even if they had known where that was going, they could have done anything about it. If as soon as Tomasello didn't get that in his glove, it was immediate that that was going to be an infield hit. That rolled into the perfect spot, geometrically right between the pitcher, second baseman, and first baseman. None of them could have made a play, and just unlucky.
Hit 11 for the Pilots in this game. Bases juiced as Owen Hayes comes to the plate. And this isn't the first time Matsu has faced a bases-loaded situation in an at-bat tonight. Pitch goes low for ball one.
Just confirmed, 11 is, in fact, the correct number of hits. I had added an extra one at some point.
1-0 count for Tomasello. Knight at first. Barajas at second. And that pitch is high and tight. Count goes to 2-0 as Hayes kind of ducked out of the way.
Hayes has been a thorn in the side of the Miners, at least early on in this game. Reached on an error, hit a single, scored a run. Is 0 for his last two, with a line out and a ground out, as he calls time here. But any out will be the third. This is loaded.
2-0 count. Pitch by Tomasello is this time high and outside. The count goes to 3-0, and hopefully this does not occur, but in case this inning goes from bad to worse, the run rule run for the Pilots is currently at first base. And Matsu will, I'm sure, have to be aware of that as well. 3-0 count, and that's ball four. So a run's going to come in for Anchorage. Owen Hayes with an RBI on a walk, and the Pilots now with a 12-3 lead.
I hadn't even thought of that. That's a
11-3 leads.
A good point. They're now 2 runs away from the road walk-off win. If they can score a couple more, it would put this evening to an end for Matsu. Tomasello, of course, still hoping he can get this third out.
Swing and a miss here by Jack Dorn. Count goes to 0-1. And just to clarify, the score is 11-3. Not 12-3 as I initially stated. So it's an 8-run game. And there's strike two. So a nice start by Tomasello, but he's going to have to find a way to finish here. Pilots are ever closer to that elusive victory versus Matsu at Hermon Brothers Field. Here's a ground ball right side. Picked up and thrown on to first, and that will be out number 3 as Richard gets to Wilcox for the 4-3 putout. But another tough inning for Matsu defensively. They give up 2 runs, and the Pilots are taking to the sky, up 11-3. Matsu trying to find something that will go their way in the bottom of the 8th. We'll be right back. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. back to Palmer, Alaska. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call. It's been a tough night for the Mat-Su Miners, down 11-3 to the Anchorage Glacier Pilots. This is tied for the most runs they've given up all season and the most they've given up at home. But there is still time left, and Mat-Su trying to do what they can to put themselves back on the board and end this game on their terms. Christian Perez to the plate, 4-5-6 to lead off. Peyton Allen on the mound. Pitch coming in low for ball one. It's just been an uncharacteristic poor pitching performance and a bevy of infield errors. 4 total errors on the night for the Miners, and also a grand slam given up. About everything that can go wrong has gone wrong, and sometimes those nights just come up and smack you in the face.
Christian Perez is 0 for 3. He's trying to reach base for the first time today. Ground out, a fly out, and a strikeout.
Count goes to 2-1 here. That pitch low and in the dirt towards the inside. And like you mentioned, Perez, the team leader on on-base percentage, trying to get on base for the first time in this game. Swing and a miss. Count goes to 2-2.
Somebody took a shot there. Thought it might have been the umpire at first. Now he's going to talk with Peyton Allen about something.
Allen kind of shaking his head after the fact.
Not sure what the complaint could possibly be, but
either way, the count will be 2-2 for Perez. Trying to find something for Mat-Su here. Allen with the pitch, and it's outside for ball 3. So Perez 1 ball away from forcing a leadoff walk, which is nothing new to Mat-Su tonight.
There have been 3 leadoff walks already in this game, and then the 1-out walk.
And instead, it's a swing and a miss. Perez put down on strikes by Peyton. Pitch inside for ball 1.
Wilcox has drawn he's drawn 1 walk, struck out and grounded out. Scored Mat-Su's first run back in the 2nd inning.
Wilcox entered this game with 14 hits, 11 RBIs, and a .385 on-base percentage. He's still tied for 3rd in the ABL in runs batted in and has forced 9 walks on the season. That pitch is high and outside, and the count will go to 3-0.
Allen having trouble throwing strikes here. All the ones he got Perez on were swinging strikes.
Wilcox not easily fooled. Trying to keep that going. 3-0, and that's a strike. Count goes to 3-1. For a second, it just might
be
outside. Yeah, that's just something we're not going to say much about. 3-1 count. And a lot of those tonight. This is a chopper that goes way up in the air, picked up by the shortstop. Hefner throws on to first, and an incredible out. And boy, Hayes did the splits trying to secure that baseball, got it in time. That's a 6-3 and 2 away now in the bottom of the 8th.
Yeah, he definitely did not have to do that. That throw is coming in regardless. The play made by Hefner at short on that weird bad hop it took off the mound, but showing off a bit of his dexterity for the 2nd out in the 8th.
Well, it was certainly impressive from Hayes. It's something that I would tear my ACL just looking at. As Blake Baltz comes to the plate for the Miners.
Don't know if you can tear your ACL.
Probably can in that
doing
situation.
The splits, but I think
I'd
I can
find a way. And that's a hit by pitch, a backstabber, and Baltz is trying to fire up the team as he gets on to first. That's the 2nd time he's been on base tonight.
Yeah, you can always count on him to try and fire up the guys in the dugout. This will be the litmus test here to see if the Miners can mount a rally, because Nick Bisaccia has struck out swinging and struck out looking twice. 0 for 3 so far today.
Yeah, this
Tyler Brunn not going with a pinch hitter.
I'm going to send Bisaccia out there and see what they can come up with. That's a pitch. Count goes to 0-1. A few, we'll say, controversial calls tonight for many Mat-Su fans and maybe the players themselves. Sometimes you're going to get that. And that's strike 2. Count goes to 0-2 quickly on Bisaccia.
I don't know what person is doing the organ sounds in the PA announcer box, but if I'm Nick Bisaccia, I am furious at that.
0-2 count, and that comes inside. Oh, it went off the home plate umpire. Going on to second now is Baltz. He'll take it. That is...
The umpire is up and walking. I thought based on the sound that made, I was worried that had gotten him somewhere bad, but he seems to be all right. Got him on the inside of the leg, and Baltz gets down to second. He has reached base 4 times today. No one else on the minors has gotten there more than twice. He has us, and neither of them, I think he's 0 for 1. He's struck out back in the 4th and got to first when the pitch was bobbled, and he has walked twice and been hit by a pitch.
1-2 count, pitch from Allen. This is a comebacker. Allen snags it. He will underhand toss to first, and that will be out number 3. So Mat-Su once again comes up empty. It's been an unfortunately familiar theme on the night. Miners still down 11-3. We'll be right back for the top of the 9th. You're watching Miners Baseball right here on YouTube. Welcome back to Palmer, Alaska. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call with you this evening. It is the top of the 9th between the Miners and the Pilots. Mat-Su down 11-3 to Anchorage. Pilots have cruised through tonight, but there's a new pitcher on the mound for Mat-Su as they try to get one last exclamation point on their side. Aiden Delinsky to the bump.
Man out of NYU on for mop-up duty, a 9.53 ERA across 5 2/3 innings and 4 appearances. He's allowed 5 hits, 6 earned runs, and struck out 4. He's had a couple good appearances in a row, and
he just took out our camera.
Of course, he's going to do that. Yeah, I'm going to go
I guess it's going to have to be you this time, yeah.
Nothing going right for us today.
Yeah, the camera gets taken out as well, so Charlie's going to go work on that real quick. Haven't really been in this situation with you folks before, so I'll get to see Charlie do some camera maintenance real quick, and boy, he got out there in a flash. And I'm looking at him right now. Look at the intensity as he quickly fixes that camera, and he is running like Barry Allen to get back. And here he is already. Boy, he got out there fast. That is one of the quickest repair jobs I've seen.
The speed run.
Yeah.
Think it looks okay? Yeah.
Looks pretty good.
All right, we'll take the victories where we can get them.
Yeah, small victories, and we will absolutely take them. Troy Sanders will be the first man up to the plate for the Pilots. It'll be Sanders, Marks, and Hefner, 9-1-2. Anchorage will, in all likelihood, move to 10-15 on the season, which would put them above Chugiak in the standings and would put them, at the moment at least, in playoff position. But, hey, you never know what can happen in the world of baseball, and especially here in the ABL. Maybe a historic comeback could still be on the cards, but it's going to take a lot of things going right for Mat-Su, including a shutout inning.
Sanders has struck out his last 2 times in the 6th and 7th, reached on a fielder's choice and popped out to foul ground.
First pitch by Delinsky is high and tight. Count goes to 1-0.
It'll be Sanders, Marks, and Hefner due up in this top of the 9th. If, like you said, the Miners want to get a clean frame and at least make this a little bit more respectable. Those 2 pitches missing wide there, though.
2-0 count. Pilots with 11 total hits on the night, along with their 11 runs scored. And this pitch is in the zone. Count goes to 2-1. Nice fastball towards the interior this time. Looking strike for Delinsky. Going to try to go double or nothing. And that will be strike 2. Nice breaking ball that time.
Delinsky, another East Coast man. A lot of those on this Miners team from New York City.
Yep, from the Big Apple. This ball popped up into right field back towards the wall. McCausland is there, and he makes a nice catch. Reeled that thing in with his glove. And that's a Rare highlight on the night, but a good one for Matsu, one away.
That was weird. That ball just kept on carrying. I thought that was going to be a pop out on the infield at first out of the bat. The way McCausland kept backpedaling for a second, I thought that might actually clear the fence. He definitely misjudged it too. He had to reach out behind his head and make a really stellar catch.
It looked like a pretty routine pop-up initially, and like you mentioned, it just kept going, and that's a hit-by pitch. It catches Marks on the left shoulder pad, or left elbow, I believe. And that's a one-out hit-by pitch. On to first is Marks. Pilots with a runner aboard.
This is the 6th time through the order for the Anchorage Glacier Pilots. Luke Hefner has a single, a pair of ground outs, and a walk. Or a trio of ground outs, I should say.
So Hefner on his way to the plate. Talinsky coming from the Big Apple to Palmer, Alaska. This is a bouncing ball to second, picked up by Richard. Underhand toss to first, and a nice out, too. 4-3 put out, 2 away.
Nice play there. Marks gets down to second, but the Miners just need one more out before the magical comeback can commence.
And you see Baltz talking with Dolinsky, trying to make sure everything is squared away, and you definitely want to make sure you do that whenever Luke Stolga comes to the plate. If there's a player of the game for the Pilots, it's probably him. That grand slam really blew this game wide open in the top of the 4th, and Anchorage has not looked back since.
He has scored 3 runs in this game and batted in 4 more. And it's only fitting that he could potentially be the last face the Matsu Miners pitching staff sees.
Swing and a miss here. Count goes to 0-1. Yeah, at this point in the 9th inning of the game, in a way virtually over, but the Pilots could certainly get it there quicker. Dolinsky will pull this one a little bit inside. Count goes to 1-1.
All I'm saying is that it would be the most Glacier Pilots possible ending for the Matsu Miners to make a game out of this. Even if they don't win, just make them sweat
Make a game out of it. That would be a good thing in terms of positive reinforcement heading into tomorrow's game as well. If they can get some momentum late, just put a few runs on the board, that gives them back a little bit of confidence, and all of a sudden, hey, you feel like you just had a bad game and you can figure this out going into tomorrow and get your win back. So that's certainly in the cards for Matsu, and who knows what can happen in the bottom half of the 9th. 1-2 count, pitch from Dolinsky, and this is going to be fouled off the end of the bat of Stolga. Count goes to 1-2 as it'll land somewhere in the concourse area. Anchorage looking for one last cherry on top in this dominant performance. Dolinsky trying to make sure that is avoided, and he pulls this one outside, ball 2. Baltz has done a great job all night. I know I've said it before, but keeping the baseball in front of him.
It's a very underrated skill, but we've seen it firsthand how quickly things can spiral out of control. You think, look at the score, how much worse it would be.
That's ball 3, a little outside, and another one that was pretty close to the zone, but kind of a bang-bang. But if there's one silver lining from Matsu, that's been the consistent call tonight. Payoff pitch, and that's ball 4. On to first base is Luke Stolga, and the top of the 9th continues. Runners on first and second for Anchorage.
Yeah, that's just how this night has gone for the Miners pitchers. Jacob Cows now, along with Stolga and everyone else who bats in this inning, will be batting for the 3rd straight inning. And Cows has singles in each of the last 2, also scored runs in each of the last 2.
Pitch on the way to Cows, swing and a miss. Count goes to 0-1. And Charlie mentioned it earlier on in the broadcast, but we've got some cool new projects coming up soon on the YouTube channel that you'll be able to watch. We won't spoil exactly what those are, but just make sure to stay tuned in. This pitch coming in low.
Spoiled one of them, but if you weren't paying attention, we're not going to spoil it again.
Yes, we're not going to spoil it again.
You have to go back in this 3-hour recording to find it.
You're going to have to find it later on, but make sure you stay tuned. Swing and a miss. Count goes to 1-2. Nice pitch by Dolinsky.
This is definitely the longest game we've had.
Yeah, we are.
Literally and figuratively.
We are at 2 hours and 55 minutes now into this game, and I'd say we're going to reach 3 hours at this rate. 1-2 count, and a swing and a miss. Aiden Dolinsky able to get a top of the 9th ending strikeout and leave 2 runners stranded on base for the Pilots. A little bit of momentum for Matsu going into what should be the final frame of the game. We'll see if the Miners have anything left in the tank. You're watching Miners Baseball on YouTube. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Palmer, Alaska. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call. It's the bottom of the ninth here on Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. Your Miners down 11-3 to the Anchorage Glacier Pilots, but trying to muster one last rally. And if it's going to happen, it'll start with Kellen Strohmeyer, number 8 in the order. Strohmeyer, Patrizzi, and Riker Scow due up, barring any pinch hitters. We'll see if Strohmeyer can get something going against Peyton Allen. Here's a high fly ball deep to right center field. This one back towards the wall, and it's going to be caught. Luke Stolga, the center fielder, came in and robbed a hit for the Miners, and yeah, it's been that kind of night.
Yeah, I don't have to rub it in. Looked like a home run, potentially off the bat, or at the very least a shot into the gap, but Luke Stolga was able to cover that ground and make the catch. He continues to be a thorn in the Miners' side. One away.
That is a tough first out as Don Patrizzi comes to the plate. He knows a thing or two about home runs, swings and misses at this one. Count goes to no balls and a strike.
I got to say, we keep taking losses so far today because in between innings, the Devil went down to Georgia, was playing on the PA speakers, and they cut out right as the good fiddle solo was coming up. So
that's a legendary song by the Charlie Daniels Band, and it's big down in the South, as you can imagine. Count goes to 0-2 here on a looking strike by Peyton Allen.
Also, happy 1 a.m. early to anyone still up on the East Coast watching.
That is behind the back of Patrizzi. Didn't make contact with him, but it will bring the count to 1-2. Allen kind of losing the handle on that baseball.
Patrizzi had an RBI single in the second, a sac fly in the fourth that drove in a run, as well as a fly out to right. Batting for the fourth time to complete this fourth trip through the order for the Pilots pitchers.
1-2 count. Patrizzi lets the fastball come in, and it was a good decision to let it go by. It's ball 2. 2-2 count. Miners with 5 total hits in this game. 3 runs scored. The 2-2, and that's ball 3. So Patrizzi with an opportunity to force his 13th walk of the season. He can create a ball 4 situation from Peyton Allen. Allen with the payoff, and this is going to be a ground ball to short. Hefner fields it, throws to first, and a 6-3 put out, 2 away.
And Owen Hayes is just showing off at this point. That's, I think, the 3rd or 4th time that he has really stretched out, done as close to the splits as he possibly could.
Yeah,
I respect it.
He has got some stretching ability. My gracious, it's like Plastic Man over there at first base. as we see Riker Scow come to the plate for what could be the final at-bat of the game for Matsu.
And it's only fitting that this is where Drake Kerr would normally be.
This is a ground ball to short. Hefner had it go off of his glove. It's going to be an E6, and Riker Scow gets on base. So maybe one last act of defiance in a way for Matsu, able to get a runner aboard. Even with this deficit, Miners not quitting.
Once a third error committed by the Glacier Pilots. Want to clarify that, of course. Riker Scow's been great in this game. That's the second time he reached base. Had a single back in the second. Has hit the ball pretty hard every time. That's not meant to be a slight at him at all. He's also made some great plays in the outfield, but, you know, Drake Kerr, the first time this team has been without him on the offensive side all season, and it shows.
And Drake Kerr's productivity definitely could have made a difference in this game, but to be honest, this was just a tough performance from start to finish, and you could argue that this was a game that Matsu just kind of got unlucky in, and sometimes it's not your night, and it just doesn't seem like it was Matsu's night tonight. And we'll see if it comes to an end here shortly. Here's a chopper fouled, and Allen actually fell on the mound. Not sure what happened there, kind of just lost his balance.
Yeah, I don't know. I was looking at him and follow through. Got a little too crazy, I guess, and fell over. Tried to hit the Bob Gibson. Couldn't quite do it.
And didn't quite resonate the same. 0-2 count. Allen looking for one last strikeout for the Pilots on Ryan Richard. This is a fly ball into left center field. It's going to stay in the yard. Stolga's back. He makes the catch. That is out 3, and the game comes to a conclusion. The Anchorage Glacier Pilots come into Palmer, Alaska, and they hand the Matsu Miners their biggest home loss of the season by a final score of 11-3. The Miners fall to 12-12 overall and drop their third straight game. A game that just wasn't in their favor from the start, and sometimes it's just not your night. It was just not the Miners' night.
Yep, it's tied for the most lopsided loss they've had all season. Both of those were here at Hermon Brothers. Just nothing much you can say except dust yourself off and you'll get them next time. They'll get another chance against the Pilots tomorrow, of course, so they'll be looking for revenge there.
Tough loss for Matsu today. We'll be back in just a moment, hopefully with our post-game interview. We will get all that situated as soon as we can. For now, stay tuned here on the Matsu Miners YouTube channel. We'll be right back. Don't go anywhere, folks. All right, Miners fans, welcome back to Palmer, Alaska. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call with you this evening. Final score, the Anchorage Glacier Pilots winning 11-3 over the Miners, and we are joined by head coach Ty LeBrun. And Coach, tough loss tonight. What was not clicking for the Miners in this one, in your opinion?
We didn't play well in any facets of the game. I didn't think we played great defense early on. Timely hitting wasn't there early. I thought we had some chances, and then we just didn't pitch it great. Too many walks tonight, too many hit batters. All around we just didn't really put anything together for us.
Yeah, there were several infield errors in this one. How big of an impact do you think that had on the game, and how do you move past that going into tomorrow?
It's huge. I mean, you're trying to build momentum as the game goes on, and when we make those key mistakes, it puts us in a bind. You saw it tonight. We had a big missed double play opportunity that ended up on hitting a grand slam off of later on in that inning. We had a line drive that we should have made a play on, and then we had an error in the first or second or third. Again, it's just it's kind of been our demise this year is infield defense. And so I don't really have an answer on how to fix it yet. I know Tebow, one of my assistant coaches, works hard with our guys, and they're working hard. It's just we got to find the right pieces. We've been kind of moving guys around to see what fits for us, and we're just going to keep doing that.
Well, going into tomorrow and looking ahead, was this just kind of one of those games, and is that how you approach going into tomorrow? Like, hey, we had some mistakes, things we can correct, and it's one of those games where we've beaten them before, and we can find a way to do it again on the road.
Yeah, it's always next days. It's a new day. We got to come out. We got to take a game tomorrow. You always like to handle business at home, and we didn't do it tonight, so we got to go take care of business tomorrow. It's not a must win, but
right.
It's coming off 3 straight losses where we have not played well. We got to get back on the horse and get after it.
All right, looking forward to tomorrow, Coach.
Yep.
We'll see you then.
Thanks, guys.
That's head coach Ty LeBrun here for the post-game interview on the Mat-Su Miners YouTube channel, and that's going to do it for tonight. So we will see you tomorrow at Mulcahy Stadium in Anchorage, Alaska for Game 2 of this home style stretch between the Miners and the Glacier Pilots. Again, your final score, Pilots win 11-3 over. For Charlie Fellows, for the rest of our incredible staff